Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. Welcome, Red Devil family. You're tuned in to the Red Devil Experience, the ultimate hub for passionate Manchester United fans like you. My name is Eric. Today's show is absolutely jam-packed with critical updates, some fiery debates, hopefully, and everything you need to know as we gear up for one of the biggest matches of the season, the Manchester Derby. We'll start with some crucial injury updates that could drastically change our lineup. Matthijs de Ligt potentially being out after picking up an injury against Nottingham Forest. But we have some players coming back that will be available on the bench at the very least, if not starting. And we have to speak about some changes. What's going on with Alejandro Garnacho? News swirling about him quietly listing his mansion up for sale. Is he going to leave in the summer? Is he already out the door? We will get into all of that. And we're going to do our Manchester City preview, Derby preview, where we're going to discuss lineups and stuff like that. But before we do all that, remember this channel is built for you. If you love Manchester United and enjoy our content, help us grow our Red Devils community by smashing that like button right now, sharing this video with fellow fans, and subscribing to the channel. It's quick, free, and your best way to stay connected. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. And most importantly, we want to hear your voice. Get involved in a live chat. Share your thoughts, opinions, and predictions. And if you're watching this after the live, still get in the comments underneath. We still love to hear from you. So, this isn't just a show. It's your platform. Let's create the ultimate Red Devils conversation right here, right now. So let's dive straight into the news. And we're going to start off with a little bit of transfer news, and then we'll get into the Derby and some other updates surrounding the squad. So start off with a little bit of the transfer news. Manchester United now appear to have dropped off the list as a realistic destination for Benjamin Sesko. United are also not one of the clubs who have presented serious interest to sign Jean-Philippe Mateta. The Sesko thing's been around for a while. Sesko's been linked with us for a while, but it's never been anything real serious. Jean-Philippe Mateta was one that's been being mentioned lately. There was some interest there, but apparently it seems like we're not that interested. We have an following update on Mateta that says Mateta was linked with the move to Manchester United, but they're not thought to be one of the clubs who have presented serious interest in him. So that side of that transfer seems to have cooled off. We spoke yesterday about Eze, and maybe this is why. I know that they don't play exactly the same positions, but maybe we're going for one Crystal Palace player over another Crystal Palace player, and maybe we're prioritizing one position over another position. So that could be a possibility as well. Or maybe we're looking to get somebody else in the same position, but just not him. We have another update surrounding Gyökeres. Some talk potentially that maybe Manchester United might miss out on his signing. He might end up at Arsenal. I think that's still a bit too early. It's a bit far wait and see. But this coming from The Athletic being credible. And, it doesn't fill you with the utmost confidence that we will land him. But the update follows as Manchester United's interest in Victor Gyökeres has been relatively tepid. They hold reservations over Gyökeres' price tag, potential salary, and age. Well, I'll tell you right off the bat, I don't think his age is necessarily a problem. I think Ineos are going to have a big problem with this. It seems like, in terms of the fan base, they are not aligned with the majority of the fan base. The majority of the fan base are asking for a ready-made, proven striker, which means that you need to have experience, and you have to be up there in age a bit to have that experience, like Gyökeres or Osimhen. Now, Osimhen is being heavily linked with Manchester United, and it seems like maybe he is the number one, even over Gyökeres right now at this moment. The price tag, they shouldn't hold that much reservations over unless we can't afford it. But it's been reported numerous amounts of times that he should be able to leave for 60 million. He has an agreement with Sporting over that. It's a verbal agreement, but it's an agreement nonetheless. And I don't necessarily know if Arsenal and United both go in for him. I think if both bid 60 million, they should both be accepted, and then therefore it's up to the player to decide. So, Osimhen's going to cost somewhere around the same. And even if we get a player like Delap, for example, he's going to cost like 40 million. And Ekatike is being quoted for 80 million euros, which is higher than Gyökeres. So I don't understand why United are holding or are said to be holding some reservations over Gyökeres. In terms of his price tag. Maybe the salary, he might ask for a lot, but again, at the same time, this is a guy that he turned down many lucrative offers to stay at Sporting, so he could stay with Ruben Amorim for one more season. So I wouldn't peg him as a mercenary. Obviously, they try to get paid and they do their thing, but yeah, I don't know if I'm buying that 100% from the Athletic. Maybe we have been a little bit reserved. But I would say it's for the reasons of we just don't know how much money we have to spend until the season ends, because there's the potential of winning the Europa League and putting us in Champions League, which would obviously significantly increase the transfer budget. So that to me seems like a more plausible thing. This statement of they hold reservations over his price tag, potential salary, and age. I don't buy the age thing, but if there is an age thing, yeah, I think Ineos are going to lose out on that one, because United fans across the board are crying and begging for a proven ready-made striker. And you're only going to get somebody like that that's anywhere from the age of 20, 26 and up, probably. And again, I don't see a problem with signing somebody the likes of Gyökeres. We've gone fairly young, and I like that, and it's encouraging, and we've done well so far on that front. But I think it's time that we get one or two decently experienced players. Nobody's telling you to buy a 29, 30-year-old. But if you buy a 26, 27-year-old, they'll be at the club for at least the next 4 years. You might not get a resale on it. But if it improves us to a point, that might not be the biggest thing. And if it's with one player only, and it's not like a squad dynamic issue, then it really isn't that big of an issue. It's not really that big of a problem. So, but we can move on to other things, because there's been more news, and we want to do the preview, and we want to get in there. So, another option apparently being linked with Manchester United. There's a lot of this coming out now. It seems like, they pretty much want the season to be over. But the closer we get to June and the opening of the market, the more these things are going to come out. So Manchester United see Antoine Semenyo as a strong option this summer. That's from Miguel Delaney. And, he's a decently good player. I like him. I'll be okay with taking him. I think he's a decently good player. Obviously, the price tag matters, which there was no quoted fee so far, as far as I was able to see. So, if we can pull a Premier League player or two and add them to our squad, I think it'll help. It's less of a adjustment period. And I think it's a little bit less of a risk as well, because they're already Premier League proven. So, that type of stuff is always good. But one to keep an eye out on, and see for Manchester United. But that one's more for a little bit of the future. We spoke about Matheus Cunha. He's been talk since January. There was some noise going around Cunha that he might have left in January, ended up staying, signing a contract extension. The contract extension is just to cover Wolves a little bit, and he is expected to leave in the summer. And we talked about the other day that Cunha made a statement saying that he wants to play, for titles, for the biggest titles. He wants to join a team that is going to be winning, or at least the very least challenging for the Premier League, and winning or challenging for the Champions League, among every other top trophy there is. And we spoke about how that doesn't necessarily fit Manchester United at the current moment. And while he might fit the system very good, we would have to sell him a project, like we talked about many other people as well. There's the possibility of Gyökeres or Osimhen. Arsenal are in that race as well. We would have to sell them a project more enticing than what Arsenal can do. And Arsenal, considering their position, and the way their squad looks, and how they're playing and the results that they're getting, they are in a much stronger position. They can sell that project a lot easier and better than us. So there's a potential that we can miss out on some players to these other clubs, specifically Arsenal, but also even the likes of Villa, maybe a Forest, who knows? I mean, they're going to probably finish in a Champions League spot at the rate they're going. So maybe they'll have some more pull. They'll have more pull than us, maybe. We still rely off of our name, but it's been so long since we've actually done something. But, yes, after Matheus Cunha's comments, this has also come from The Athletic today, saying Manchester United have also shown interest in Matheus Cunha in the past, but the player really wants Champions League football. It's not really much. I think I probably could have wrote that after the statement he made, it's fairly easy to say something like that, but we pretty much stated this, and we pretty much said this as well, that, from that statement, I mean, there's not much, you don't have to really read between the lines. He was pretty direct. So it seems like it's kind of a snub to United, but, you never know. We, if we're super serious about Cunha, and we show him that, and, we do a little bit of convincing, maybe we end up getting him and he ends up joining. Agent Bruno, Agent Delo, Agent Ruben Amorim. We get the Portuguese. He's Brazilian, yeah, but same language. So you never know. Lyle's in here. What's up, Lyle? How are you doing? Hope everything is good. We're just running through some topical stuff. We're gonna do a Manchester City preview as well, so it's gonna be good. Now to the biggest story. Today, the one that seems to be making all the kind of headlines, even though it is from the Sun, so and it is kind of tabloidish. Anyway, but is Garnacho leaving? Because apparently Alejandro Garnacho has discreetly put his house in Manchester up for sale. This is coming from the Sun. Updates as followed goes to that apparently Alejandro Garnacho has put his house up for sale in Bowden, Greater Manchester. The estate agent appears to have been instructed to try and keep the attempt to sell quiet by posting just one picture online, explaining that the home is exclusively and discreetly marketed. Again, coming from the Sun, so we have to take a little bit of salt, a grain of salt. He could be leaving, and that's maybe why he's selling his house. He could also buying a new house, and maybe he wants to get rid of the you're not going to own two houses, so maybe he's buying another house. Maybe it's going to be in a different area. Maybe it's going to be bigger. Maybe it's going to be smaller. But this has induced panic, and I think I understand why it's induced panic, because number one, there's been talk about Garnacho being sold since December, and that hasn't stopped really. It stopped for a little bit after the January window closed, but it's crept back in the past couple weeks, and now it's shifted to the focus of the summer. There's still Lincoln, Chelsea potentially maybe are interested. There's maybe a potential, we spoke about it the other day, a potential deal swap where we can get Osimhen and we send Garnacho to Napoli the other way. But we did a little bit of digging, and we found that this update came shortly before we went live, that sources close to Garnacho say he bought his house last summer when his family and brother were living in England full-time, but they have now returned to Spain, so the player and his partner are buying a smaller place. So hopefully, that is true. This is Chris Wheeler, Lion's favorite person, Lionheart's favorite person, Chris Wheeler. He did call it. He did say that Chris Wheeler was going to come out with something tomorrow. He said that yesterday, and here we are tomorrow, putting out some news there. Very tabloidish. But listen, I think, it's not just the news stories. I think it's a little bit of the whole thing with Garnacho anyway. He's been struggling a little bit on the pitch. There's arguments of, does he fit the system? A lot of people say he doesn't. Ruben Amorim has kind of been pressing him a little bit hard, saying that he needs to do better on the pitch in running and certain aspects. His decision-making is being called into question. He's also cutting a frustrating figure on the pitch. Just recently in the match in Forest, you could tell he was very frustrated. Number one, I think he's trying too hard. Sometimes you can try too hard. And it takes you out of your mentality. It messes you up. And then sometimes you're not trying hard enough, and that's just a lack of effort. But the one thing I noticed during the Forest game was that he seemed very unfocused, but then also it seemed like he was forcing too many things. He wasn't composed. It seemed like there was a lot going on up here, and so he was distracted during the match, especially in the first half. And you could see that he was very frustrated, losing the ball, passes not coming off, making mistakes. Him throwing his arms in frustration and stuff like that, and he's been like that for a little bit. And certainly what I notice, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I do go with what my gut tells me. And my gut tells me that I kind of look at it last season to this season. Last season was more of a smiley Garnacho. There's a lot more smiley. I think things have transpired this season. Whether it's off the pitch or on the pitch, and he doesn't seem as smiley right now. It doesn't seem like he's really enjoying himself. And maybe he doesn't enjoy the new tactics. Maybe he doesn't enjoy playing in the position he's playing. Maybe he wants to be an actual, winger or inside forward and cut inside, and maybe he's not enjoying this types of tactics, so maybe he is looking to move. I feel like maybe there's a small chance of that, but I'm not 100% sold that he is definitely wanting to leave. I don't think he's actually made that sort of decision. Maybe we'll get that decision when the season is over, because a lot of players tend to do that sort of stuff. Maybe they think about it, but they don't actually go to their agent and say, yeah, we're out of here, until the season's over, till there's no football, and then they make their decision. So, I think it's a wait and see. I still believe in the kid. I like the kid. I want the kid to stay. I will say this: if he decides that he wants to leave, then we got to let him go. You can never. If a player ever makes the decision that they no longer want to be at the club or they want to move, then you gotta let them go, regardless of who the player is. So, if he makes that decision, then it is what it is, and there's nothing you could do about it, and you just gotta go with it. What I don't want is him not wanting to necessarily leave and then kind of being pushed out the door for profit. I don't agree with that. And that would come from the club, obviously, because the club is looking for money. So Lyle says most likely getting a bigger place. Not out of the realms of possibility. The panic is probably why they wanted to keep it quiet. And then Lyle corrects himself saying, oh, sorry, LOL, smaller place. Yeah, you would think, with the money that, and he probably got a pay upgrade. That's what I originally thought before the update came out. I was thinking, well, maybe he's moving into a bigger house because he's getting paid a little bit more money than he was originally. So I was like, maybe he got a bigger house, but this makes sense as well. We got him we got him from Real Madrid when at a very young age. They were obviously living in Spain. Him and his family were living in Spain. And when he came into the youth setup at Manchester United, they had to come over here. And, his family came over and stayed with him because he was young. He was like 14 or something, 15, whatever his age was. So they stayed with him. Now he's older. He's more mature in that sense from when he first was, and he could probably kind of take care of himself, especially because he's with his partner and he has his own son now. So, it makes sense. It makes sense. It fits the bill. So, we'll keep an eye on it. I hope he stays, but again, if he says he wants to leave, if that's his choice, then he's got to go, because you can't keep a player that says he wants to go. And I'm gonna be watching him a little bit more closely. I mean, from the matches I've seen from him, he seems a bit frustrated. He seems a bit not as happy as he was. Maybe that's because he's not putting in good performances. So maybe he's frustrated with himself, and maybe he's a little bit frustrated with the situation, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's gonna leave us. So we'll see on that. Now, we have an update about Turkey, because Turkey's been a big discussion in this chat for the past few shows. So we were able to get an update around Ryan Turkey. And Fabrizio Romano has kind of provided this to us, saying that Ryan Turkey's links to Manchester United and other English clubs. Turkey has a release clause, but it's not straightforward, apparently, and Lyon insists on certain conditions being met in the deal. Now, when they say these things, I wish they could provide us a little bit more detail. I always question and I always wonder, you are able to provide us at least the very much that there is a release clause, but it's not straightforward. The fact that you know it's not straightforward means that you know that there is something in the release clause that makes it not straightforward. So why can you not give us that in the update so we know the actual situation? Which bothers the crap out of me, because it makes me feel like they're talking a bunch of shit out their ass. So I don't know, but it's Fabrizio, so it's it is what it is. But I guess we'll keep an eye out on it. We are going to be playing Lyon soon anyway, so we'll probably get a little bit of a scouting mission coming up next week. If he does feature against us, I think United fans are going to be watching out for him, especially if he's been linked to us. So we'll see what it is. I hear he's available for 20 million. Cheap price. Potentially goodbye. So we just keep an eye out on it and see what it is. We got updates about Mason Mount. We have some updates about players returning from injury, players that might not be available for the Manchester City game, which will then lead us into the Manchester City preview as well. So let's get to this Mount thing. And this goes a little bit backwards, but it's fine. So yesterday we talked about how Manchester United apparently have this plan for Mason Mount, where they could shut him down for 6 months, send him to a Switzerland clinic, so that he becomes less injury prone, and that hopefully will help him stay fit and be a part of the Manchester United squad. Now, they stated, the way they stated it, they said that I think they're going to give it a go with him trying to stay fit as of right now. And if he does get re-injured, I think that they will shut him down and send him away for six months to go to that facility, rehab, hopefully strengthen and be less injury prone at the end of it. That seems like what is happening. As of right now, it seems like we're not going to do that. We're going to see if he can stay fit without having to do all that. As we all know, he was on the bench. He came on as a sub against Forest. Almost had a decent good shot, like the first minute or two he was on the pitch. So, and we all know how Ruben Amorim feels about Mason Mount. He likes him very much. He's had nothing but praise for him. And I think he's actually desperate for he's actually desperate for Mason Mount to be able to stay fit because he is a major factor of Ruben Amorim's team and plans. But he needs him to stay fit, of course. So we get this update today, apparently supposedly coming from inside sources, from Manchester United or Mason Mount, saying that inside sources this morning can exclusively confirm confidence from medical officials regarding the nature of rehabilitation from Mason Mount's latest injury. They said Mace has been devastated with his Manchester story so far, but he is about as confident and dedicated a lad as you're likely to meet. Trust me when I say a fit Mace can propel this team into an entirely different attacking proposition. The belief held between the qualities of Bruno and Mount is as high as they come, which I agree with. Ruben adores him, as we all know from his public comments, but he really admires his mental fortitude and desire to help his teammates. You cannot put a price on what he brings to the ground. And the dresser, I love him. Okay. I don't know who necessarily made that comment, but they have an affection for Mason Mount as well. But I think they made some fairly decent points. We talked about this yesterday. We talked about this the other day. We said, if Mason Mount can stay fit, that, the imagine putting Bruno and Mount next to each other in the tens. That changes the dynamic as a whole. You can even put Mount and maybe Mano, or Mount and a new signing. And a fit Mason Mount would actually change the whole dynamic of that squad. Number one, I believe that he is a very good player. He just needs to stay fit. But they've also mentioned how Ruben adores him, and I mean that's quite clear. He from the beginning he's had nothing but praise, and he's talked about him glowingly. So to me, I believe that Ruben is desperate to try and figure out how to get Mason Mount to stay fit and to be an actual member of the team. So we'll see. I'm hoping that they can figure this out. We spent good money on him. It hasn't paid off yet. And I guess like Mason, he feels devastated. I'm sure he does. I feel bad because I think he's a good player, and I think it's unfortunate that his United story has been hampered, and progress has been stopped by such things. So hopefully we get that onto together. Now, what goes hand in hand with this is that Mason Mount, Ruben Amorim did a press conference today, and he was asked about Mount, and Ruben said he can start, but we have to manage his minutes still. And we're bringing this in because yesterday we spoke about this, and yesterday we said how, one of you guys in the chat, somebody, I think it was Lions, mentioned that they would maybe start Mount in Europe, and I said I'll be cautious with that because we have to be careful with him, and you have to manage his minutes. And just to remember, the last time he came back from injury, he only lasted 20 minutes. So I would not start Mason Mount probably for the rest of the month, just to make really sure. But he can definitely be a substitute, and we can increase his minutes gradually from the substitute position. I'd rather have Mason Mount available on the bench playing 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes as a sub than taking the risk starting Mount, him potentially getting injured and being gone again. Also, I think he's lacking some match sharpness as well. So I think for him, it benefits him to actually come on as a sub, so that when players on the pitch are more tired, he's more fresh. It levels the playing field a little bit for him. So, yeah, and I think Ruben just restating that, that he can start. We can start him, and which means that he can play at least 45 minutes. But they're trying to be careful with him, and they're trying to manage his minutes still. So I don't think Mason Mount's going to start in the match versus City. I don't think he should start in Lyon either, but maybe he will. But we'll see how it goes. We got to get through the City match first. Lyons has been lurking in the background very well. Lyle says it's a shit situation that we are talking about taking care of a 60 million to 100K a week player we could get who could get injured at any moment. It is, but we've had so many issues with injuries, and to be fair, listen, the guy had a surgery before we bought him, but he's not it's not like this surgery that he got. It's not like he's re-injuring that. He's sustaining different types of injuries. And before that, he wasn't really doing that. So I feel like it's part of our responsibility to figure out what we like, the size of Manchester United, the amount of money we make. We should have the top medical people in the world, or at least if it's not at Manchester United, we should have an outside source where they are the leading people in the world when it comes to medical advice and stuff. There should be a way to figure out how to minimize his injury proneness to a certain level, because for the amount of injuries that he's gotten and that he's missed, and it's like different injuries, there has to be something that you can do about that, because he wasn't like that before. He did his whole career before. He had a surgery, and now all of a sudden he's made out of paper mache. Like, I don't really understand it, and I don't believe in coincidences. Why is it always that United, yes, we've bought some players that are injury prone prior, but why does it seem like United constantly have problems with injuries? Is it the pitch that we play on? Is it the training ground? Is the grass shit or something? Is the turf shit? Is it the air? Is it the water they're drinking? I don't really get it. Everybody's, every team sustains injuries, but we have a problem where it's like players come here and they start to deteriorate. And it doesn't make sense, because it's like clearly we're not doing something right. And we're not taking care of our players for them to come to the club and deteriorate physically. In the case of Luke Shaw, he's a little bit different, especially because he suffered such a horrific injury. And even prior to that horrific injury, he was already injury prone. That horrific injury made it much worse, right? So he's a little bit different, but so many players, and so many injuries. I mean, Lisandro's been injured twice in 2 seasons. Don't understand it. We botched his surgery as well. Menu, Diallo. It just seems like our players are fairly brittle. They're fairly brittle. There has to be something wrong there. There has to be something that we're just not doing right for these things to be happening. Like, I understand that we're going to get injuries during the season, but the amount of reoccurring injuries to players and reoccurring in different injuries as well. I just feel like we have way more every season than most top teams, and it's just not normal at this point. So, but it is a shit situation, and that's why I hope we get it under control, Lyle, because I really do believe that he is actually a really good player, and if he was to stay fit, I think he would be probably one of our better players, if not one of our best players. And I think also, he would just improve. The dynamic he would add to the team would just it would improve us so much more. And he's probably one of the missing key pieces. So, Lion Lion says he's not, like a dog's dinner today. Not feeling well. Well, I hope you feel better then. I hate, being sick sucks. So, feel better, Lions. Stay hydrated. Get some electrolytes in you. Get some vitamin C as well. Do that ancient, do one of those ancient techniques. The monks, as far as I know, the monks used to take a bucket of hot water and then put a steaming towel on top of their head and just sit over that, and that supposedly just clears up everything in there. So maybe some ancient medicine we got going on there, but yeah, hopefully you'll be good for Sunday as well. You got a couple days, some rest, some water. Yeah. Elias says, for real, Mount is a top player. I mean, he played so well at the start of the Amorim era. I mean, he played well at Chelsea as well. He was a very good player. And to be fair, Lyle, like, even the few amounts of matches that he's played for United, when he actually gets on the pitch and plays, he still looks good. For a player that's missing a lot of game time and not having a lot of training, and is not like 100% match sharp. Every time he features, like even the 20-minute cameo that he did in Forest, he came on, he had a shot. It was probably one of our better shots. Now, it was off target, but it was a decently good shot. And he gets involved, and he always looks decently good. The problem is we only see him for a little bit, then he ends up going missing again because he gets injured. So hopefully he stays fit. But we'll put this as well. We're gonna move on to a couple more of our players, injury status wise. Apparently, yeah, it was close. It was close. A little bit off target, but it wasn't a bad shot with some defenders in front of him. It was a little bit of a difficult shot, But this update coming from the almighty and super cheerful and always as positive Samuel Luckhurst, giving us some positive news today, saying Kobe Mainoo could return from injury on Sunday, but will not start. So a little bit of an injury boost there. Mount will be on the bench. Kobe will potentially be on the bench, which is good because I miss my kid. And he needs to get back to playing football. And hopefully he's okay, because he's been out for a little while, longer than I thought he would. And again, I don't like him really missing these periods of football. It's stunting his growth, and he's an importance to the team as well. So the more back, the better. But again, same for all these guys, and I'm always super worried about reoccurring injuries. Obviously, when he comes back, we can't start him. He's got to be on the bench. We got to manage minutes. We got to make sure he's okay. Don't push him too hard. And also, help them out a little bit. Bring them on as subs. Level the playing field for them. They haven't played matches in weeks. Some players' cases, months. You put them on in the second half when players on the pitch are more tired. They come in fresh, and you level the playing field for them to make some sort of an impact and get back into their groove and get back into their fitness and whatnot. So, positive things here. I'll be looking to see if he does actually make the bench. I hope he does. I hope he does. Now, we have, here is that this is the reason why the title is called, injury blow or injury boost, because apparently, it's a mixed bag today. Sam Luckhurst never fails, coming with the negative news as well. He's yin and yang today. He's yin and yang. Saying Matthijs de Ligt is a doubt for the derby, and it doesn't seem like that he is actually going to be fit to play in the derby, which is of concern. Maguire is back, but Maguire just came back, and Maguire was on the bench. And then Maguire came on and played striker at the end of the Forest match. So I don't know. We're gonna have to go with a back three. If the Lit can't make it, we're gonna have to go with a back three of Maz, Euro, and Maguire, and hopefully Maguire is fit enough to sustain being able to play 90 minutes, because that's also a concern. We don't want to re-injure Maguire either. And I don't know if he's ready to play 90 minutes. He wasn't. I don't know how much he was going to feature in the Forest game. If we were behind, maybe he would have gotten 20 minutes as a center back. But if he's only could get 20 minutes against Forest, and that was like 4 days ago or 3 days ago, then I fail to see how he's going to be able to give us 90 minutes in a derby when he was at 90 minutes. So yeah, I'm not sure. But it's a little bit of a concern. Now here's one for Lions and all the other people that are Luke Shaw lovers. Apparently, Luke Shaw is an option for Sunday as well, but it's said they aim for him to return versus Lyon, which is very interesting. Aiden Heaven is also making good recovery, and he should be returning soon. So, decently good news on players returning. Luke Shaw, another one. Hopefully he stays fit. I doubt it. I don't like to say those things. I don't say it happily. I just don't have any confidence that he will, because he's never done it. I hope he proves me wrong somehow. I don't know how. I just don't logically see how it's going to happen. And I'm kind of expecting the worst. But it is good to have him back. It is good to have another option, and I guess we'll take him for as long as he is around. It'd be great if he could at least finish the season. That would be fantastic. Another left-footed left wing back. And we could be a little bit stronger in all areas. Amad Diallo should probably make an appearance before the end of the season as well. So, if everybody can kind of stay fit and not get re-injured, we're looking at a strong squad, which is very good, because we're still in the Europa League and we're making a push to the final. And the bigger the squad, the more options we have, and the better the players that are available, the bigger and better our chances are to actually go and win that Europa League and actually get into the Champions League, which is going to be absolutely massive. So, yeah, we have to manage Kobe. Sure, says Lions. Yes. It would be great to see them love handles back on the pitch. Hopefully he's fit. I don't know what he's been doing on, his I don't know what he's been doing in his off time. But hopefully he didn't come back fat. Hopefully he's in tip top shape. Hopefully. And the last piece of news that we had was that Manchester United remain strongly interested in signing Atalanta attacker Ademola Lookman as they plan a major rebuild of attack in the summer. The club is looking for new attacking options. Again, Italian links. We're looking at the Italian market. Now, I will tell you, Lookman, very, very good player. I was watching a couple Serie A matches not too long ago. Specifically, I was watching Atalanta. And he is top player. He top player, for Atalanta, but in this Serie A as well. He's very fast. He's got skill. And he's got a lot to offer. And again, United are sort of looking in this Italian market. I mean, we have Osimhen that we're looking at. We're looking at Lookman, and there's a couple other players that we're looking at. And I think as of right now, we're gonna keep seeing these sort of links. Because again, I will say, I'm not saying we get the players dirt cheap, but I think these sorts of deals from the Serie A are a lot cheaper than maybe other places, other countries, other leagues. They're certainly probably half the price of any player that you could get similar quality in the Premier League. Spain's a tricky one because they have rules and it's sort of a law that like players have to have a guaranteed buyout. So sometimes the buyouts are very high. Well, actually, usually they're very high, and that's to protect the club. For example, Lamine Yamal probably, if they were to sell him, they'd probably argue for like 150 million based off of performances, but also potential and age. But his buyout clause is like north of 300 million. And that goes for pretty much all players in Spain. Player might be worth 50, but they have a buyout clause of 125 million. It's kind of a loophole in Spain because they're forced to put buyout clauses on the players. And so since they're forced to do that, they put the buyout clauses very, very high. So sometimes it makes those transfers tricky as well. But yeah, I said this before and I'll say it again. Keep looking, keep watching out because I think Manchester United are gonna keep going into the Serie A and they're gonna keep pulling targets. I don't know how effective that's going to be down the line because I just don't know about the conversion rate of Italian of players from the Serie A. It's not even Italians, just players from the Serie A that come to the Premier League and do well. I think maybe in the past, maybe back in the 90s, maybe it was good because the Serie A was very different and they had very different types of players and the Premier League was different as well. But nowadays it seemed the Serie A seemed as like sort of a step down. It's not as fast. It's probably not even as physical, even though they're known for their physicalness. But yeah, it's sort of see to me. I think the people that have the most success at Manchester, not at Manchester, in the Premier League, that come from other leagues seem to be the French and the Portuguese. And it doesn't really matter where you get them from, but I think they seem to have the highest success in terms of becoming good players when they come from other leagues. French players and Portuguese players. Now that doesn't mean directly, from the country or the league itself, but there's many Portuguese players. They go all over the place, but there's many Portuguese players that play in Portugal. Italy, there's many different nationalities that play in the Serie A. It's not just Italians. It's sort of like the Prem. It's not just English. There's tons of players that play in the Prem that they're all from all over the world. The Serie A is like that as well, and the Bundesliga, there's some, but not as much. And I kind of look at the Serie A little bit like the Bundesliga. Like you get these players from the Bundesliga, you bring them to the Prem, and I think more so than not, they often don't live up to the hype. They actually they flop. And I'm a little bit worried about us doing the same thing with the Serie A players. Because so far we bring in a couple. And it's been a struggle for them. And even in the past, I mean, players like Darmian and stuff like that didn't really work out. He went back to Italy, and he was a really good player. For them when he went back, he was tearing it up, but he was no good with us. So it's a little bit concerning because I don't want to be pulling too much from the Serie A. I would like to spread it around. I would like to get players from over there, but we had Hoyland from there, and we got Xerxes from there, and now we're looking at Lookman, and we're also looking at Osimhen. Although I think Osimhen is a player that can make it in probably any other league. And I like Lookman too. Lookman is a good player as well. So it's not necessarily that much concerning, but I just keep an eye on it to make sure that like it's not going crazy in that department. But what I want to do is do a little bit of a preview for the Manchester City match. Manchester United versus Manchester City. Obviously we are going to be playing home. United are aiming to do the Premier League double over City since we beat them 2-1 at the Etihad earlier this season. Current updates or status around both teams is that obviously our injuries is Lisandro Martinez, but he's out for the season. Diallo's not back either. Luke Shaw, as we just spoke about, might be on the bench. But if he's not on the bench, he'll be on the bench for Lyon, is what they're saying right now. Aiden Heaven's still injured, still a bit far away. But should be coming back, hopefully sooner rather than later. Johnny Evans still out and sidelined, and I don't think he's probably not going to make it back. Although I would like Johnny Evans to make it by at least the last match of the season, because I think this is obviously his last year. I don't know if he's probably gonna retire, to be quite honest. And I feel like Johnny Evans being Johnny, I understand we're not a charity, but I just feel like he deserves a proper send off. I think he's earned it. So hopefully he gets that. Hopefully he can get that. And ride off into the wind. Doubts right now is Mateus de Ligt. He suffered a knock against Forest. He's facing a late fitness test, and Kobe Mainu potentially will be on the bench as well, so that's good. Returning players that have returned, obviously Harry Maguire, we saw him on the bench. Mason Mount, we saw him on the bench, and they both came on versus Nottingham Forest, which is good. Manchester City, Erling Haaland is out, which is, I would say it's a big one, but Erling Haaland has pretty much done F all against us for the most part since he's joined Manchester City. He does tend to go missing in the big matches, and he does tend to stat boost, to stat pad his goals against these smaller teams, where he scores 3 goals a game against all these smaller clubs. And then when you get to the top 8 teams or top 6 teams or these big matches, he does tend to go ghost. That's why we call him Ghostland. But yeah, he's out due to an ankle injury sustained in the FA Cup quarterfinal against Bournemouth, as well as defenders Akanji, Nathan Ake, and John Stones are also unavailable. Rodri has been out for the entire season, and he ain't coming back. So they have a couple big name. They have a couple important players injured as well. We're obviously probably gonna, not obviously, probably, obviously we're gonna line up in the 3-4-2-1. Most likely, in my opinion, it's probably gonna be Onana, Maz. If the Lit isn't fit, or we're gonna pick the one of the two that's more fit, it'll be Maz, Maguire, Euro. In the back, then we'll obviously have Delo. Probably go with Ugarte and Fernandez, with Dorgu. And probably maybe we'll go with Casemiro again as well. Casemiro next to Ugarte, Bruno up, but I don't know. It didn't work out too well. And we switched it up in the second half. I think we looked a little bit better, but with Bruno playing deeper. And Garnacho and Hoyland up there again. Although I would probably, you know what? No, Xerxes has to be in that spot. So I would probably put Bruno next to Ugarte, and then play Xerxes, Garnacho, and Rasmus as the 2 10s and the 9. Manchester City potentially maybe might line up most likely in a 4-2-3-1. Obviously on the pitch it changes. It changes shape, but the starting lineup will be in a 4-2-3-1. It's what they played a couple days ago. And they'll probably go with the lineup somewhere around like Edison, Nunez, Diaz, Guardiola, Rico Lewis, Gonzalez, and Gundogan. And then either Foden or Grealish, Doku, and Marmouche. And Marmouche. Is De Bruyne injured as well? De Bruyne injured as well. No, he's not. He's not. So maybe De Bruyne will start as well. Marmoush last time for them started at striker. Um, Manchester City, the match that they just played during the week, they they lined up versus Leicester like this. They lined up Ederson, Nunez right back, Diaz and Guardiola center back, O'Reilly. I don't even know who that is. Kid. O'Reilly playing left back. Nico Gonzalez center mid next to Gundogan. They had Semenyo, right wing, Grealish, Cam, Doku, left wing, and Marmoush playing striker. Grealish scored and Marmoush scored. So Marmoush playing a striker and scoring. You know, despite challenging season for United. Hopefully we take the home advantage. And even the recent Derby success. And Manchester City's kind of key absences and them not having such a good season for themselves as well. I mean, it's not as bad as ours in the league position, but for what they've been doing for the past like 10 years or so, it is considered a poor season for them. Um, and we got to see how that midfield battle goes out and see who actually plays there. I think that's going to be an important thing. Um, and even our back line as well being strengthened, very very important. So Ray is here as well. Ray, how you doing? Hope everything is doing well. Um, Lion saying Lookman was shit in when he was in the Premier League. Yeah, well, I don't know if he was shit, but he played for Everton, didn't he? I don't know. How good can you be when you play on Everton, considering what Everton are? You know, um, he is 27, which you know what? To be honest, I didn't realize that he was that old. I thought he was younger. Um, I thought he was younger. I didn't realize he was 27 years of age. I thought he was like 24 or something. Um, but I mean, he has 13 goals and 5 assists in 24 matches in Serie A. I don't know. Did he ever do something like that for his time at Everton? Yeah, Everton and Stoke. I'm checking it right now, so I'm just this is always a pain in the ass. He said he's valued at 60 million euros right now. So this is what happened. So he was at Charlton. Uh, he went to Everton in 2017 in the January transfer window for 8 million euros. Um, I think he was then the following season he was loaned to Leipzig. Then came back to Everton 17-18. Um, so he didn't really get that much playing time at Everton. He then ended up at RB Leipzig. They bought him in 2019 for 18 million euros, and then the following season was loaned to Fulham, and then went back to Leipzig June 30th, and then Leipzig then sold him to Leicester. No, they loaned him to Leicester. Sorry, they loaned him to Leicester. For the 21-22 season, went back to Leipzig, and then was sold to Atalanta from Leipzig 2022, August 2022 for 9.3 million euros. So yeah, his career has been one where it's been kind of very up and down. But since he's gone to Atalanta, um, 3 years he's been there, and he's the highest he's ever been worth. And I probably performing the best he's ever performed. Right now. So that's you know, again, he's 27. He's in his prime. So he's in his prime. So I mean, can't really this so far is probably his best season. Last season he played 45 matches, had 17 goals, 9 assists in all competitions for Atalanta. His first season His first season at Atalanta, he had 17 goals, 9 assists in 45 appearances for Atalanta. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was the same one. His first season at Atalanta, he had 15 goals, 6 assists in 33 appearances. And before that, he was kind of struggling. He made 42. Who is this for? This is for this is for Leicester. Yeah, for Leicester he did 42 appearances, 8 goals, 5 assists. And that was in 21-22. I don't know. Um, let him be in his prime from away from Manchester. Yeah, nobody's liking Lookman, I guess. I think he's all right. I mean, I seen him play, but maybe it's because he's playing in the Serie A. But he looks decently good player. Albeit though, he's performing very, very well for them. And if he's being quoted at 60 million euros, I think we could pass on that because I'd rather go get somebody else for 60 million. Um, but yes, Lyle says I think Lookman should stay where he is. Moving him might derail his final years. Plus, coming to United is not a guarantee. Well, we don't know. I mean, he's just been mentioned, but apparently we're planning a major rebuild. So I remember when he was at Everton as a youngster and all the hype. Yeah, I remember him being there, but I didn't remember him like too much. But his career's been up and down. But I don't know. Last time I saw him, he looked very, very good. He impressed me in the match that I watched him in. Um, he was very tenacious attacker, very, very very impactful, very, very relentless. Um, so seemed like a good option. And again, Serie A is slower, so maybe he looks sort of that fast for that reason. Um, what's the recent form between us anyway? Between United and City. City have been City's done a little bit worse than us in the last 5 matches. The last 5 matches they played, loss, 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 win, loss, draw, and win. Um, and we had done draw, win, loss. So we have one less loss, one more draw than them. So technically a little bit better. Technically, we got a couple more points than them. Um, we made one more point than them technically. In the last 5 matches. overall. So I think it's gonna be it'll probably be a good game. It's probably gonna be a close game. But we need to win this. We need to win this. Tottenham did us a favor yesterday, and they lost. So they didn't push us down a spot. And when is Crystal Palace gonna play? Because they're behind a match. But it's actually still decently important because if we do win, uh, we'll have 40 points. And 40 points depending on what Palace and what Brentford do. And I guess even Bournemouth. Bournemouth, Fulham. I think Brighton is a little bit too far because that's 10-point difference. But um, Fulham at 45. If these 3 or 4 teams above us, if they drop some points, if they lose or they draw, um, we can end up jumping a couple spots by the time the season ends. Yeah, instead of finishing 13th, maybe we could get into ninth or something, make it look a little bit better. Um, be above the top half of the table. Above 10th place, just above. So, we gotta see. Let me check to see if there's any more sort of news that came out. Bruno Fernandez, by the way, did win Player of the Month. Again, Bruno Fernandez has the same number of Premier League Player of the Month awards as Wayne Rooney. Now they each have 5. Rooney only ever got 5. 5 Player of the Month awards. Bruno Fernandez now has the same Player of the Month award tally as Wayne Rooney. Um, Obviously 2 different eras, but again, I will say this: his impact is very very important to our team, regardless the fact that our team is shit. But even one of my friends yesterday, um, he's an Arsenal fan. He saw the rumored story that obviously we talked about isn't true, but he saw the story about Bruno Fernandes potentially going to Real Madrid. Obviously, Ruben Amorim has said that he's not leaving. There's no chance he's leaving. He's not going anywhere. But he brought that up, and he was like, yeah, he's like, if Bruno goes, he's like, you guys are fucked. Um, and that's coming from an Arsenal fan, and he's like, because he's like, who's gonna create anything for you guys? He's like, you guys don't. He's like, now obviously, if you replace him with somebody, sure. But he's like, first of all, he's like, you have to get a decently good amount of money for him to be able to replace him because the person that's going to replace his output is going to cost a lot of money, and therefore you're going to have to sell him for a decent price. But he was just stating in general. He's like, if you look at your team, he's like, if you just pulled Bruno Fernandez out of that team right now, and you know didn't buy a player, he's like, you guys would be so totally screwed. He's like, you guys would probably get relegated. Which is probably true because he literally creates everything for us. So, which is an issue as well because, like some people point out, if he plays like shit, then we're screwed. Which is, again, it's not necessarily his fault. That's a bad team dynamic. We shouldn't have one player that is the be all and end all of all creation. But we're lucky he's like not human. We're lucky that he isn't human and he like doesn't get injured and he like doesn't miss any matches and he literally plays like 90 minutes every single match, like every single season. It's literally insane because if he was a regular person, if he was like a regular human, um, you know, I don't know, certain things in certain seasons, um, if he was out for weeks, we would be totally screwed. So, it's just it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. But yeah, good for him. That he's won Player of the Month. Um, apparently, Amorim made some So this came out as well that Manchester United have made it clear to Victor Osimhen that he is their first option. So, like we are just saying before, um, it seems like Victor Gyökeres is not the number one choice. He is the number two, which is probably why that it was reported that we were a little bit timid in going to sign him. And from judging from the stories, from the news pieces that have been coming out, it also seems that way because when Victor Osimhen is talked about, he's talked about very strongly that he's being strongly considered. And Victor Gyökeres, not so much. There's not so much confidence behind these stories. Now, maybe that's because there's already been some sort of indication that he's gonna he wants to go to Arsenal or something. So maybe we backed out of that. And we're throwing it all in. Throwing it all in on Osimhen. So, but that just came out 45 minutes ago. We have another protest as well from our fans. They are going to be protesting on Sunday. They're going to do a sit-in at full time. They're going to stay in the seats. And they claim that this is about protecting fan culture, protecting the loyal match-going fan base. The club want us gone. They need to know we're going nowhere. And that is from the 1958. I will say this about the 1958. I respect them to a certain degree because they're the only group of people that were trying to do things and they went quiet for a little bit after the acquisition. I think they had to give some time. And they've started back up again. And, I'll give fair play to these people that at least try to do something and get something done. I do, I'm not trying to be like super critical, but I'm just saying like, I do think that they could do a better job with some of the things that they're organizing and calling it a protest. I think there's more effective ways to make a point, to make a statement. I mean, I don't know. They're doing a sit-in. I don't really see how that's really gonna affect any type of change. Glazers already have your money. Um, you you paid. You went to the match. Maybe you bought some concessions if we even have any left. I don't know. I just feel like there's got to be a better way than some of the things that they've been doing. Because it just seems like they're kind of like half in it. To me, I would attempt. This is just off the top of my head. I'm not an expert, but to me, I would attempt to get as many people as possible, and sort of kind of do like a lock in hand type of thing around Old Trafford. We would need a lot of people, but I would kind of like make a barrier of people, like a ring around the entire stadium, and chain link arms, and try and prevent people from actually going inside the stadium, and like talking to them and explaining to them why they shouldn't go into the stadium and why they should actually join the circle. Maybe that's stupid. I don't know. It's off the top of my head, but I just feel like something to that nature would be more effective than doing a sit-in. Like, I don't think they're gonna give two shits about a sit-in. I don't think they're gonna fucking care. Like, you're gonna do a sit-in. I just don't think that's gonna accomplish anything. Even last time, like, yes, they did a nice march. It was a good protest. There was lots of people there, and it's good to see. But when they got to the stadium, they all went in and they all went in and watched the match. So at the end of the day, like, okay, maybe you made a little bit of a statement, but how is it making any effect towards the owners? How does it put any sort of real pressure on them? Because it's not. Like, Yeah, so Jim's out here talking about, if I get this abuse, I'll leave. But I don't even really believe that. I think it's a little bit bullshit. And also, these people, especially the Glazers, they don't give a shit. You know, they're mainly protesting the Glazers. There's only one way to hurt the Glazers, and that's to hurt the pockets. That's to hurt the money. So I don't really, I don't I respect them for trying something, but I just feel like their efforts are a little bit flat. They're falling a bit flat, and they need to be organized better. They need to be organized better. There has to be like something behind it that hits them hard. That actually hurts them and actually causes them like to panic or something like that. And these things are not. I don't believe they're doing much. But yeah. Which game is more important, City or Leon? Well, probably Leon, because we want to win the Europa League to get into the Champions League. Beating City, I mean, it's not going to get us into Champions League next year. It'll make us feel good because we'll do a double over City. Um, and it's the local rivals, and also it can help us in the table a little bit. But in terms of, I guess what we're all focusing on is that United are in a situation where if we win the Europa League, we'll be able to spend more money, and we're all concerned about money and transfers, and we're all focused on that. So I would say probably Leon. But if I'm gonna have my cake and eat it too, I'm gonna say both of them. Both are important. I don't think either game is actually more important than the other. I think they're both equally important, and they're both matches that we need to win. We need to win, and there's 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 nothing else to say about it. We have to win those matches. We have to do it. Um, and just by the way, on that, when you think about it, Bruno Fernandes winning five player of the month, the same as Wayne Rooney. Just remember that Rooney joined when he was 18. Um, right? Was he 18, 19, 17, whatever it was, 17? Um, and he won five player of the month. Bruno Fernandes joined in 2020. That means that he's won at least he's averaging a player of the month a season. He has five, and it's 2025, and he joined in January 2020, which is actually kind of insane when you think about it. So, um, Lyle says that he would love to finish top nine at least. That would be okay, I guess. Well, it sounds better than 13th or 14th or 15th, for sure. I don't know if that gives us a little bit more money. I don't know how the money is spread from like 7th to 10th or something like that. I don't know if there's a difference or not. I think I was told that there is once, but um, you know. Um Lyle says I would love to no, sorry, I did that. Lyle says Yorkers is on the fence with us, so it makes sense that he is our second choice because we are most likely his fifth choice. I actually don't think we're like his fifth choice. I think it's literally um I don't really know who else he would go to. Maybe third choice at most, maybe. Because I think Arsenal is definitely up there, and then it depends what Chelsea want to do as well. So, I would say in terms of Prem, I mean, he's not going to go to Madrid, um, unless Barcelona decide that they want him because there's Lewandowski, and I don't know what they're going to do with Lewandowski. He is getting he's getting more old there every year, so I don't know what he's going to do. But I'm trying to think of top teams, like in the world, big clubs. I mean, Bayern Munich have Harry Kane. They're not gonna get Jokeres. The Serie A, um, I don't see him going there. I think, my opinion, if you don't go to Real Madrid or Barcelona, and you want to go, to the top, you're gonna go to a Premier League club, and that would be Arsenal, Chelsea, United are in for strikers. City aren't gonna get a striker, and I don't think Liverpool are going to either, unless they sell Darwin Nunez. There's a potential for a shake up there as well. I don't know if they're going to, but um, you know, it depends. It depends who's actually in for him. But yeah, maybe we don't need these sporting players. I mean, I don't think we necessarily. I don't think we have to say we need them. It doesn't matter where they're actually from, sporting or not. If they fit the system, they fit the system. I still think he's a good player, and I think there's actually, see, the thing for me is, I've always said this, and regardless of Ruben Amorim, I do believe that when you go to the Portuguese league and you look at the top three teams, specifically more so, um, Sporting, Benfica, Porto has some, but not as many, in my opinion. Um, if I was in charge of United, I would have rated the Portuguese league a long time ago, because I think they have fantastic product, in terms of players. And so, regardless of Ruben Amorim, if even if Ruben Amorim wasn't here and we had another manager, I still believe, and I personally would be looking at players from Sporting and from Benfica, because they have a very good they have very good players, and they have very good products. So this whole thing of like this, oh, it's Sporting players, so they got to come to United, like, because Amorim is Portuguese and stuff like that. Like, I always just said that, like, we should be looking there anyway, because they have very good players. They have very top talents there. Um, but now obviously it's a whole different story, because our manager is Portuguese and he came from that team. So now everybody has Ten Hag PTSD, and they're gonna freak out if we buy two players from the Portuguese league from Sporting or something, like, But it is what it is. That's fine. I'm just saying. Um, Lyle says a protest while the Glazers are looking to renovate the Raymond James Stadium for the Buccaneers. Yeah, are they doing that as well? Are they looking to renovate the Buccaneers Stadium? Because if they're doing that, Buccaneers plan a massive renovation to Raymond James Stadium 2 days ago, April 2nd. So it's not an April Fool's joke. Um, the Buccaneers currently plan not to replace it, but to renovate it. Bucs owner Joe Glazer told reporters on Tuesday the team plans a massive renovation of its long-time home. He said it's something you're always looking at, because the fan experience is so important in the NFL, in all sports. Uh, Joel Glazer said, so we are constantly looking at the stadium, constantly looking at how we can improve it. We did stuff about 6 years ago, but now it's 6 years later, and there's been a lot of new stadiums built, a lot of different renovations done. So we're currently looking at all those types of things and evaluating it. There will be a time and a place, but we will always want to improve the stadium and keep it up the highest standards. I fucking hate these fuckers. Um, the comments come at a time when, as explained by Stroud, local officials claim there hasn't been much communication with the team about the plans for the stadium. Um, Joel Glazer said, I've heard people say there's been no communication. It's actually not very accurate. We're going through a phase right now where we're assessing the stadium. We might what might be needed. I know they're assessing the stadium and what might be needed. Once both of us are done with our assessments, then we come together and work through things. The goal is to attract Super Bowls and other major events to the venue. I mean, what a bunch of scumbags these guys are. I can't believe the 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 quotes that just came out of this guy's mouth is total polar opposite to what they do at United. I don't understand it. I mean, first of all, they actually speak to the media or to the fans, right? Of the Buccaneers. They don't do that shit for us. They've never done that for us. The only time they did it was when we called off uh the match versus Liverpool because of the Super League. That was the only time, and that was a written statement. Um, but I mean, just to make the statement saying that we're constantly looking at the stadium, constantly looking at how we can improve it. We did stuff about 6 years ago, but now it's 6 years later, and there's been a lot of new stadium builds, a lot of different renovations done. So we're currently looking at all those types of things. Hello, what about Old Trafford? You didn't touch it for fucking years, and you let it rot. Are they looking for state? Of course, they're looking for state funding. They're not going to put their own money into it. We talked about this the first time they got the renovation done or the stadium built when it was built in '98. They got the state to fund it for them, right? When they took over United, the stadium was already built, or the stadium was already pretty much done. Old Trafford was already, we had state of the art everything. They took it over after. Now, uh, they let Old Trafford rot. They're gonna get a brand new £2 billion dollar stadium, and they're not putting in any money. They're gonna get help from the surrounding area, from the Manchester um, local, and then Sir Jim and whoever else, and probably the club or whatever. They're paying for this stadium one way or another. And then they're gonna do the same thing over here, where they're not putting in any of their own money. They are literally, I mean, business wise, they do it correctly, but um, as a sports, I guess, entrepreneur, like when you own a football club, and not American football, but when you own a football club, you don't the owners of the football clubs, they don't make money on the football club. Like owning a football club is not it's not like owning apartment buildings. It's not something to it's not something that's meant to make you money. In fact, most of them actually lose money. Um Now if you're an investor with somebody, obviously you want to make your money back. But for these people that largely own the Premier League clubs, when you look at the club in terms of the money they put in and what is the return, it's always negative. They actually lose money. You don't own a football club to make money. That's not This doesn't work like that. But this is how these guys operate. This is how they operate. So business wise, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. Business wise, but sports ethics wise, it is wrong. 100%, because it's just not it's just not normal. It's just not normal. And maybe because it's an American type of way. Because obviously in America, I mean, like, listen, the world is all about money, but specifically in America, everything is very um business oriented. Like, even for the fact, like, this might be a little bit off topic or weird, but even for the fact of, like, we had 9/11, which was an absolute tragedy, and it was a travesty to the nation when it happened. Like, and I just sit here sometimes and I think about, like, I'm like, we we had a full terrorist attack in our country, and and we still go to work on that day, like 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 we still work, like these people still want their money, and I just sit there and I feel like I'm like I don't know, if it was another country, maybe a smaller one, maybe one not so big, I feel like at some point they would be like, listen, this is more of a Memorial Day, uh we need to close everything. But it just kind of got me thinking about how like everything's always just like go 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 here. And I guess that's like maybe where they have their sense of business and how they treat sports and how they treat United as well, because um you know they listen. There's people that own NFL teams. They're billionaires. They have tons of money. I assume somehow they make money off of it. Um, NFL is different to football in the Premier League, so I assume they're making some types of money on it as well. And maybe they bring that mentality into football. So, um, what about Jack Grealish in the 10 at United? No, no. I'd rather put Luke Shaw. I'd rather put Mazuari as the 10 at, at United. Jack Grealish can go do one. Um, I dislike him very, very much. I don't like. Number one, I don't think he's that good of a player. Number two, he's also a drunk. Um, he's sloppy. I don't like him. I actually hate him. I hate him. I hate the special treatment he gets from the media. Um, it's quite actually just disgusting. And I don't rate him. I don't rate him at all. I don't rate him highly as a professional. Um, no, no. He's like, my disdain for Jack Grealish is about the same as Jaden Sancho. And one actually played for us and one didn't. But yeah, I very much I liked Grealish at Villa. I thought he was all right, but when he went to City, and then kind of what he's become in that period of time, a big head, uh, completely full of himself. I think his head is too big because he's won these trophies, even though it wasn't necessarily him because he's been quite shit. And he cost 100 million, and he's a flop for them. Not that the media points that out ever. And then he's also doing drunk escapades, constantly in public, and I'm not for that. As a professional, I don't like my professionals doing those sorts of things. Obviously George Best was George Best, but George Best was, a long time ago. And times are different and times have changed. So yeah, not for me. Salah has 7 Player of the Month awards, and with him to leave Liverpool, Fernandez would probably take the record eventually. With, yeah, yeah. Okay, who holds the, or is it with Salah at 7? Aguero, Kane, and Salah hold the record for joint 7. Well, Salah's gone, so um, he's not coming back. So Bruno does have a chance to take it. It probably will take it, to be honest. Considering the fact that he has 5 in 5 seasons. If he's at United for 2 more seasons, he'll have 7. And if he's at United for 3 more seasons, which makes him 33, that eighth one might be a bit of an ask. But again, he is like not human. He is playing like 90 minutes and never misses a match. So maybe at 33, he'll still be going. Um, Elias says we had a tragedy in 1976 on June 16th involving school kids, and we have a youth day to remember them every year. It's a public holiday. And here's what I'm saying, like, I and that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Like, I just feel like if something like that happens somewhere, other than America, because America's very like corporate. It's very corporate-ish. It's all about money. Um, all about money. But constantly on the go here. It's constantly just like hustle mode all the time. And everything else kind of takes a back seat to work first, always work before everything. And maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they're like that, because maybe there's the sports, even the sports over here is treated differently. But in football, um, and I consider football it's a European thing. It's not an American thing. It's a European thing. It's an English thing. Like, that sport is treated differently, but also the cultures are differently. But the sport is treated differently, and our sports over here, even though they're sports, and for us, for like people that are the fans, it's a sport. Like, it still kind of has like that similar effect like football has for people in Europe. The only thing is, I think, like, America views like American sports is still viewed as a business from the high ups, not the fans, but like the people at the top. It's still very business oriented, where it's like you have to make money off, these NBA teams or this NFL teams. Like, it has to be profitable. It has to be this and that. Whereas in like football, like, the clubs don't really like make money. Like, sure, they make profit and stuff, but like, it's always reinvested into the club. So they're never actually making money, because it's just going back into the club. And actually, a lot of owners like invest a lot of money into the club, and they never get that money back, because when it goes in the club, that's it. Like, you spend it on transfers, whatever. Sure, you win, but it's a constant cycle and it never goes out. So um we had our first democratic elections on April 27th, 1994, and it's a public holiday we have here. I was born that year. So that's cool. Um Lion says, so your dream 10s for United are Grealish and Sancho, I assume. Yeah, if we're in the not even if we were in League 3. Not even if we were in League 3. Um not at all. Olmo here said, I watched Sancho the other day for Chelsea, and he's doing the same thing that he was doing at Man United. F all. Uh, yeah, I seen that. And says, if Chelsea or Napoli come in with an offer for Nacho in the summer, I will take in a run. He's trash. I think that's a bit harsh. But fair enough if you want to sell him. I don't think I would sell him. And I also think I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But I just feel like it's wrong to. I think it's too early. I mean, that's fine. Like, you could think he's terrible. I just think, personally, for me, Almo, I can't say that about a player that's what is he, 19? Like, he's 19 years of age, and he had a good season last season. This season's bad. I don't know. It's hard for me to say that he's trash at this moment in time. I just think there's I think currently he's not doing good. Like, but to overall write him off and say he's trash and he'll never amount to anything and he's garbage and we should just get rid of him, and he's never going to be anything like above average or something like that. I just don't know. For me, I still think he's too young to say that. I think if we give him a couple more years, 2 more seasons maybe or something, and see how he progresses off of that, then maybe I would feel more comfortable calling it on a player like that. I think because here's my thing, right? We talked about this the other day. How many people said Anthony Alenga was trash when he was with us, and that he was garbage, and that he'll never be good enough for United? And now, fast forward down the line, couple of seasons, got some more playing time in the Premier League, and most of the people would take Anthony Alenga right now and put him in our squad, and most of the people would argue that he's better than anything we have, in terms of that position. And that's because these players, like, I don't know if it's Ronaldo and Messi and Mbappe. I don't know if they've messed up everything for everybody, where people expect them to be these sort of elite wonder kids, maybe even like a Lamine Yamal. You know, those players are very rare. I don't know if it's because we were spoiled from Ronaldo and Messi, and what they done, and it's like anything that's not close to that standard is no longer good enough or whatever. But I don't know. It just seems that way. It seems like people today are very impatient with these younger sort of players when they have a whole career ahead of them. He's Yeah, he's not Ronaldo. He thinks he is. I don't think he necessarily does think he is though. But he's got technical ability of a League Two player. I think I think people unfairly say that about him, Olmo, to be quite honest. I think people maybe because Ronaldo is his idol, he dedicates his game a little bit after him. I think it's unfair for him to say that he actually believes that he's Cristiano. I think maybe he looks up to Cristiano, maybe some of his game is after Cristiano. I will say that he does have to learn to not be so selfish, which is sort of an issue that he has. But I missed a couple of your comments. So I'm going to read them. You said if Sancho comes back in the summer, let me tell you, we will find it hard to get rid of him because no one will take him. He's absolutely dreadful. Well, I very much don't like Jadon Sancho. I want him absolutely nowhere near. I don't. I mean, I don't feel like he's going to come back. But I don't know. Considering that he's playing like dog shit at Chelsea, Chelsea might just be better off paying the 5 million and cutting the losses, which I think they would probably be better off doing that than paying for him. Now there was stories that Dortmund are interested in signing him and that they might sign him directly from Chelsea when Chelsea signed him. So hopefully one of those things stay true. But Lyle said Garner needs to work on his finishing. He gets into so many good places. His dribbles come off 9 out of 10 times. If he had to score all his chances, we wouldn't call him anything but great. Well, but this is what I'm saying, and also like he's a young guy, and for me, it's like it's his second season. And I don't know. People gave Marcus Rashford years and years and years. To prove himself, and I just don't understand why Garnacho can't get more than 2 seasons. I mean, last season I think was a good season, and this season, people have been very disappointed, angry with him. Some people have turned their back on him and have completely just written him off. And you know what? I don't know. I just don't agree with it. I think there's also circumstances, right? Like Manchester United, we're not very good anymore, right? We're obviously we're in 13th. We're a team that's struggling, and I just kind of look at it and I'm like, who are we to write off this kid 2 seasons in at 19 years old? We're our team is shit. Like the whole team, the whole team is bad. Why are we writing off a 19-year-old kid and saying that he's garbage and he's trash and he's never going to amount to anything? When our team has been shit for 10 years, like if we were Real Madrid and we were hitting, you say it's obvious. I don't think so. Look, it very well may be, but I last season there was some things that I seen that made me believe that he could be a top 5 player in the world. This season, he's been below that. He's been disappointing, fairly disappointing. Even me, that somebody that I like him and protect him, he's been disappointing. He hasn't been good. It's been a struggling season for him. But I don't agree with just throwing him away after 2 seasons. Especially if you have one good season, one bad season. And to be fair, I mean, this season has been horrible for the entire squad. So it's not like it's not like he's the only one that's, it's not like everybody else is playing good, and he's playing bad. Basically the whole team's been struggling. They've kind of taken turns, barring a handful of players, or less than a handful of players. I mean, Bruno in the beginning of the season was kind of not doing well. Bruno, as of late, has caught on fire and turned it up. And it's kind of been vice versa, with some of the players. I think Maz was started very excellent. Then he went a little bit out of form. Um, he's back in it, and then everybody else has been fairly largely inconsistent. I mean, Rasmus has been struggling like insane amount, right? Been struggling like crazy. Xerxes started off, he was struggling in the beginning. He's found a little bit of his feet, but still not good enough. Diallo was one of the only ones that was carrying it up on a consistent basis before he got injured. Trying to think, I just can't. Lyle says Lamine Yamal has messed up expectations. Look how folks have called for Obi to start because Yamal is doing great. It doesn't always work. Not saying Obi won't be great, but it's risky. Almost says he needs to learn the basics, like pass the ball. I mean, he doesn't have to learn the basics. He knows the basics. It's just about making the decision. It's just decision making. He knows how to pass the ball. He does it sometimes. It's just sometimes he makes the wrong decision. But you can grow out of that. You can coach a player at his age. You can coach him out of that. If you do what you're supposed to do and you look after the player. Um, you can kind of coach them out of that. It also comes from the player. The player has to have an understanding, and the player has to have a willing to do it. Um, for me, I'll just say like if we were to sell Garnacho this summer, I'd be highly disappointed because I feel like we just didn't we didn't go through like the book, like we didn't get to the sort of the ending. We kind of just quit in the middle, and we kind of gave the book to somebody else to read and finish it, and it just doesn't fit right with me. I would like to see him here, and I'd like to see what we can get out of him next season, um, under Amorim and the system. I'm interested to see if he can turn it up, if he can get out of this sort of slump. Because his first season when he burst onto the scene, he was fantastic. He was definitely impactful. And he was definitely a difference maker, and he scored some fantastic goals, and he had some fantastic runs, um, and even a couple good assists here and there as well. So I think there's still a potential for him to be a very good player, and he's still very young, but we got to see. Um, Almost as Dortmund, no way they won't go near him at Sancho. Well, that's the stories that have been coming out. So maybe they won't, maybe they will. I guess we gotta wait and see on that. But that has been the stuff that has been reported in the past couple weeks, surrounding Chelsea, Sancho, United, and Dortmund. They have been mentioned quite a lot that they are still very interested in Jadon Sancho. I wouldn't put it, I wouldn't mark it as something completely impossible. I mean, they like Sancho over there very much. Sancho likes them very much. They don't seem to have any problems with Jadon Sancho. When Jadon Sancho went there on loan, he played very well for them, and they seemed very happy with him. They just didn't want to pay that amount of money or whatever. Maybe they think they could get him for cheaper now. So maybe they'll do it. Or maybe Jaden will, lower his wages or something like that to go to Dortmund because he's realized it hasn't gone well at United and it's gone shit at Chelsea as well. And we got to get out of here. But I don't know. I just at this point, even if he does come back to United, like, well, somehow, one way or another, we'll end up getting rid of him. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, Sancho is going to be a problem. I bet you that he comes back in the summer and Chelsea don't pay for him and they give us the 5 million back. Well, it's a possibility for sure, but I think that will. I think we'll like he'll have to go. You know what I mean? Like he won't be able to stay because he's not going to play and he's not going to come back in. I think everybody at United is in agreement that he has no way back. He has no spot. So really, even if that happens, that's more of just an indictment on Jaden, and maybe it'll open his eyes and his brain a little bit, and maybe he'll go and he'll figure out a move. You know what I mean? Um, the squad is not good enough. We need about 15 players. It's never going to happen. We don't need 15 players. We don't need 15 players. We literally we signed 6 main players so far. We signed some backups. We signed 6 main players so far. If we sign another 5, that's a whole starting 11. That's new. I have no problems with the likes of Delit, Mazawari, Doro, um, Dorgu. Xerxes is a little bit questionable, but worst comes to worst, maybe he could be if we don't move him on, he could be a bench player. Um, from the signings that we signed. All we need to do is continue to do good recruitment. Um, and probably in the next 2 years, 2 seasons, um, the squad should be transformed enough. And so I guess you say 15 players, like yeah, technically it will be 15 players in the end. But not all at once. And it will happen because we do it all the time. Um, we sign anywhere from 4 to 5 players a season. So 3 seasons, that's 15 players. That's a whole brand new team. The point that we need to get rid of about 20 players. No, we don't. 20 players is the whole squad. We don't need to get rid of 20 players. There's players there that you can use that are good enough. For the most part. There's some players that you got to keep in there anyway, regardless. There's some players that they won't gonna go. Like Casemiro might stay, not because we don't have to get rid of him, but because he's a problem. In terms of that, he doesn't have to leave. They're under contract. Somebody like Luke Shaw, difficult to move on. Um, things like that. But there are players that are gonna go. I would say right now, for the main summer, there's like at least 8 to 10 players that should leave and that we could get them to go, especially because like the likes of Lindelof and Ericsson are going to be free agents, so those don't really count too much in terms of like just nothing we have to do. They're just going to go. But then players like Casemiro, um, obviously Evans probably going to retire. Rashford, Sancho's one, depending on whatever he does. Anthony, those players we gotta move them out. We gotta get rid of them. Um, so you don't think the squad is horrendous? Horrendous? No, not in the way you're saying it. You're saying it in like you would just literally just sell every single player, which I disagree with because I don't think it's that bad. I just think that it needs a reshapement of sort. Like obviously I'm keeping Euro, I'm keeping Delit, I'm keeping Maz. Delo, whether you want him as a starter or not, he's good enough to be part of the squad for sure. Ugarte is good enough to be part of the squad for sure and is staying. Casemiro, I would move on. Dorgo's good enough to stay in and he's part of the squad as well. Bruno Fernandes, I'm keeping. Garnacho, I'm keeping. Xerxes, we could use him as a squad player. Worst comes to worst. Kobe, I'm keeping. Diallo, I'm keeping. Luke Shaw, I'd get rid of. Lisandro, I'd keep, but I'd see if he's gonna stay fit or not. Who else do we got in here? Bruno, Garnacho, Rasmus. I'd keep for another season, but I'd get in the main striker. the more experienced striker, because Rasmus is only 22. Strikers don't hit their peak until not their peak. They don't hit they don't hit their height until like 27, their prime. So he's got another 5 years. He could become a very good striker in 3 years from now. Um, but he needs help. He needs time. So I'd keep Rasmus, keep Xerxes, keep Bruno, keep Garnacho, get rid of Casemiro, keep Kobe Mainu. I'd see what's up with Mount. I mean, if this guy can't stay fit, we'd have to get rid of him. But I like him. I think he would be good. But if he can't stay fit, he's got to go. Diallo, I'm keeping. Ericsson, I'm letting go. Ugarte, obviously staying. Dorgu, obviously staying. Collier can stay. He's 21, and I think he's gonna come into the squad nicely. Lisandro, I'm keeping, but we gotta make sure he doesn't sustain another bad injury. If he does, then we probably have to let him go. Maz, I'm keeping for sure. Delit, I'm keeping for sure. Maguire, I wouldn't be against letting him go. I also wouldn't be against letting him stay on the bench. Obviously, he's not going to be the starter, but maybe we would sell him and get in another center back. Delo, keeping him. Shaw, I would let go because he can't stay fit. Euro, keeping him. Obviously, Lindelof, I'd let go. Johnny Evans, he's got to go. Then we have Harry Almas potentially coming into the squad. And then the goalkeeper, I would switch the goalkeeper. So, and that's who's in our squad right now. Not to mention, then there's Rashford. Obviously, sell him. Anthony, sell him. And Sancho, sell. So yeah. So almost says Sancho, Rashford, Maguire, Lindelof. Well, Lindelof is leaving because his contract is up. Ericsson's leaving because his contract is up. Um, Onana, fair enough. Casemiro, fair enough. Um, he says Hoyland and Mount. Well, see, I wouldn't sell Hoyland and Mount. I don't think there's any reason to sell Hoyland. Mount, maybe, but I don't think you're going to be able to sell him anyway. So you wouldn't be able to sell Mount at this current moment in time. So even if you were to get him out or wanted to get him out, I don't think you'd be able to sell him. It just wouldn't work. Also, I think we have to try to get him to be fit because he didn't have this problem. So, um, Onana, Rashford, Sancho, and Hoyland. Yeah, I wouldn't sell Hoyland. There's no reason to sell Hoyland. Xerxes is not a 9, and Xerxes is not going to play striker. Xerxes is a 10, and Rasmus is a striker. So, so, what is the point of selling Rasmus? So you're going to sell Rasmus and you're going to have one striker because we can't buy two. Um, Hoyland doesn't have to be the main man. But there's literally no reason to sell Hoyland as of right now, and we can't even afford to sell him. So, um, yeah, unfortunately, Onana is going nowhere, which is unfortunate. But we would sell him. Mason Mount needs to go, according to Almo. Well, fair enough. I'm kind of there, but I'm not really there because I still think that like we need to give him another go, another shout, another run. He's back from injury. Um, Apparently they have a plan. Shut him down for 6 months. He may need to go, but also the problem that we find Almo is that we probably won't be able to sell him. He's probably harder to sell than Sancho is. So um Hoyland needs selling. I disagree. Um Unless you're bringing me Osimhen and Gyökeres, but where you gonna get the money for that or something? Or you're bringing me Osimhen and you're bringing me Ekatike and you're selling Rasmus, but that's not gonna happen either because we paid a lot of money for Hoyland and PSR will absolutely bury us if we sell Hoyland, um, considering his form. So Ugarte needs to leave to offer. He offers nothing. That's insane. Um, I don't know what. I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna be. The goalkeeper needs selling. That's a must. Well, I agree with that, but like we should, we would probably sell him, but I don't think he's gonna go anywhere. So like, there's nothing you can do about that. Kobe and Garnacho will be sold to Trust. Nah, you're. No, I'd sell him and get a new striker. Maybe the guy from Braga. Well, you might feel that way, but I actually don't think that I actually don't think that it's that bad. I do agree that probably Onana does have to get sold. The problem is that like we're not going to be able to do it. Um, not right now, because but the things you're asking for, um, we just don't have the money for that sort of stuff. Also, some of the players you're mentioning, you would, if you did it, United would be in administration, and we would probably cease to exist at this point. Selling Ugarte when we just bought him, that would send us into PSR hell. Selling Hoyland, paying the money that we paid for him and the amount that we would get back would send us into PSR hell. So those two things you literally cannot do them, even if you want to do them, unless you want the club to like literally just disappear, um, or start the next season minus 15, negative 15 points. Um, Sancho I agree with because he's shit. Rashford he's got to go because it's just not good. You know what I mean? Regardless of whatever people think of him, he's not he's not happy here, and he's not he's not the way he's playing at Villa. He wasn't playing like that for us, so he's obviously got to go. It's past his time. Maguire, um, yeah, again, like I have nothing against Maguire. I think he's been pretty good, last season and for when he's been available. He is old. I would like to refresh at some point. If we could do that, that's obviously good for the squad. Um, but I wouldn't be against if you gave him a year or two extension at a lower wage. Wouldn't be against it. Lindelof is going, and I would sell Lindelof. So I'm with you on that. Ericsson is going, and I would get rid of Ericsson as well. And Casemiro. Well, Casemiro I would sell, but we don't know if Casemiro is going to go because Casemiro's made comments saying how he doesn't really want to leave. And we can't force him to go anywhere. And you're not going to rip up his contract because nobody rips up contracts. It's just stupid. And would also screw us for PSR. Well, and Onana, I would probably move him on because he doesn't seem like the right type of goalkeeper. That we need, but yeah, I don't know if we have necessarily the funds for that. If we were to sell Onana right now, I don't know how much money we would get for him, and then to get in a new goalkeeper. I think in layers, we can do. Yeah, but we're 14th in the league, Almo, but it's not. It's not all because of just the players. I mean, the situation at Manchester United, um, the way it transpired, this season has gone the way it's gone. Probably, yes, because of the players, but also because of Ineos. I mean, Sir Jim Ratcliffe literally said it was a mistake to keep Eric Ten Hag, and they sacked him 3 months into the new season. That doesn't help Manchester United. Starting the season with the manager and sacking him 3 months in when they could have sacked him in the summer and gotten in a new manager and maybe been a different team um, starting off this season would have been different um, than starting off shit, sacking the manager, bringing a new manager that plays a totally different style of football and system, and coming in the middle of the season and trying to adjust the whole team and a game plan and shit. So it's not like I don't know. He's being a little bit too extreme. I do agree that we do have to sell players and stuff like that, but I don't think you can make a list of 20. I think 20 is like we might as well just fold the fucking club. At that point, you know. Onana 5 times, Mason Mount twice, Hoyland twice, and Ericsson twice. Yeah. I think we're selling players that need selling this summer. Rashford, Sancho, Shaw, yes, Casemiro, yeah, Maguire, fair enough. There's an argument for it. Mount, I mean, okay, if you want to give up on that, that's fine too. Hoyland, Martinez, Onana, Fernandez, Garnacho, Xerxes, Baynder, and Ugarte. Now, I think that I agree with you on Rashford. I agree with you on Sancho. I agree with you on Shaw. I agree with you on Casemiro. Maguire, I'm indifferent to. It doesn't matter. I think you could use him as a squad player. You know, balance out the squad. Just because Maguire's there. I mean, you sell Maguire, you're not going to get anything from Maguire anyway. What are you going to get? 10 million? So that Maguire staying or going doesn't really matter because Maguire can stay and he can be on the bench. There's nothing wrong with Maguire staying because Maguire is not going to be the starter. We can also sign another center back. Also, we have Heaven. So it's not that big of a deal. Martinez, I think, is, in my opinion, outlandish. I would not sell Martinez. Although I would strongly consider it if he suffers another bad injury. Because then that just means that he's injury prone and he's fucked. But I think he's had 2 unfortunate injuries. But when he has been fit, and hasn't had season injuries, and you say Mazawari also isn't good enough. In what world do you live in? So Mazawari isn't good enough. Maz has been one of our best players this season. Grace from the shadows of the chat. Grace from the shadows of the chat has, and if I'm completely honest, I'm not that convinced about Euro. I mean, but on what basis are you judging these players? Like, Euro is 19. He just came to this league. This is his first time in the Premier League. Like, what are you comparing these players to? Maz has been one of our best players on the team this season. His first season here. He's probably better than half the players in the Premier League, if not more. He's also multi-positional. He can play right wing back. He can play right center back. He can play CDM. He can even play number 10, according to Eric Ten Hag. I'm just trying to gauge, like, how you deeming all these players that aren't good enough, and then also, like, I would love to know who you're going to replace these players with, is what I want to know. He's been buried at Old Trafford by average wingers. No. The lit door go in heaven. Yeah, Lions. Can you give us Lions, give us some under 14 players. We should probably sell them. They're not good enough either. Let's get rid of them. Let's get rid of them. Those under 14-year-olds. Not good enough. Get them out. We'll sell the entire under 18s, the entire under 21s. We'll sell the women's team as well. We'll keep the low for Grace. I'll give you players to replace them with right now. Okay, go ahead. We'll wait. Don't worry about it. Um, I just want to know. Listen, I'll tell you what. We may not agree with him, but he is very opinionated about his stance. So, yeah, okay. Costa for goalkeeper from Porto for Onana. Okay, we've talked about that one. That's fair enough. Lyle says to sell Obi the Fletcher twin Thomas. I like how Grace just came in here to delete one message from this. It said sell the low. But here's the thing, anyway. So again, I agree with him on Rashford. I agree with him on Sancho. I agree with him on Shaw. I agree with him on Casemiro. Maguire doesn't matter. If we sell him, cool. If not, doesn't bother me. I think there's a place for him in the squad. We don't have to necessarily sell him. Plus, if we sell him, we're not going to really get any money. So he's experienced and he's been good for the past 2 seasons. I admire his character. He'd probably be important for the dressing room, so long as it doesn't hinder somebody new being signed or having playing time or something. Mount, I think there's a good player in Mount. I would like to see if we can actually get him fit. It's been a disaster 2 seasons. And I give him another chance. But if he does something anything like he did this season or last season, then obviously he has to go for obvious reasons. But ability wise, Mount is a good player, but he's just not available. Hoyland, I wouldn't sell, solely for the fact of that he's 22. I think he could become good. Also, he shouldn't be the main striker. He should be backup striker, and we should get in a main striker, and let them lead the line. Maybe somebody that's 26. It's 3 to 4 years of them leading the line. That makes Rasmus Hoyland 25, 26 by the time that player is done. And then maybe he's ready to actually lead the line. And I think there's a player in there, but he needs to develop. Martinez, I would most definitely not sell. The butcher is the butcher. He just needs to, well, he had one bad injury. We fucked up his surgery. Which, the fucking up his surgery isn't his fault. And he suffered this injury now. So I keep him. I think he's an important player. He's a good player. I'd be concerned of the injury. If it happens again, then he probably also has to go, but I wouldn't sell him. No chance. Onana, understandable. Bruno, I wouldn't unless we get a certain fee for him. It has to be a certain amount because I just don't think unless you get a certain unless you get paid a certain amount or we have a certain amount of money to replace Bruno, I don't think you get the output from somebody else. So it would have to be a decently high fee, and then also you would have to provide me somebody, because you take Bruno out and you take out his output, we'd be relegated if it wasn't for Bruno this season. You want to complain about we're in 13th. If it wasn't for Bruno Fernandes, we'd probably be relegated at this point. So Garnacho, I'd keep. Too young. I don't write off kids that are this young. Don't do it. I think there's a player in there. And it's our jobs to help him develop into the best player possible. We need to do that. Xerxes, I'm a little bit iffy on Xerxes. I don't think he was maybe the correct buy for us, but he's done well to improve since the beginning of the season, and I still don't think he's going to be that guy, but obviously for PSR reasons and shit like that, unless we can pretty much sell him back for the price that we bought him for, and I don't think we can. Um, yeah, he's not going to go anywhere, and I'd probably give him one more season. I tend to give players 2 to 3 seasons to prove themselves, um, but no more than that, and they have to show some type of an improvement. There, understandable. He's a good shot stopper, but the guy can't use his feet to save his life. And Ugarte, there's no way in hell that I would sell him. Um, so, um, all right. So he said Costa from goalkeeper from Porto, which is fair, but I have some reservations about him because he does make some mistakes. He had some Mars in the Euro, for Portugal. I've seen it before, and he's had a couple for Porto in recent times as well. So he's not Casillas, he's not Courtois, um, but fair play. Um, Costa de Lap, Alejandro Balde. That's three. The Southampton youngster is good enough to play us for. Are you talking about Dibbling? Okay. Costa de Lap. All right, de Lap. Bears. Alejandro Balde. I don't know if we would be able to get him. I don't know his situation there. The Lap is better than Hoyland. I mean, that's. I think that. I think that's. I think there's. I think that's an arguable matter. Uh, maybe he is. Maybe he's not. But I mean, this season, sure, he's done better than Rasmus. But I don't know. Maybe he is. But again, even if we were to sell Rasmus Hoyland and get the Lap, we still need another striker because you can't just have the Lap up there by himself. Um, I mean, the Lap would be the only striker, so we still need another striker. So technically, we would have to buy 2 strikers. So uh, I think we will get the Lap. That will be our striker. Maybe, maybe. A possibility because they seem Ineos seem. I mean, Victor Osimhen apparently is the #1 target on the list, the striker list, and we got Obi. Yeah. But you don't want to go too young as well. We need some experience in there to balance out the squad. Grace is here, says almost right. 20 players have to go. At least 3/4 of the youth team has to go and just shut down the women's team and Amorim has to go. Can we get can we get Southgate in? Can we get Southgate in and just pick up I don't know. Just pick up some people from the local park and have a go, I guess. We'll just go from there. No, but like listen, some listen, he's not making all bad points. He's very opinionated with his things, so that's fine. We respect that. Opinionated is fine. He can be very opinionated. Obviously, we try to be logical about it. So he may feel one way or the other about these players, and maybe if it was up to him and he had the freedom and it was like a FIFA career mode, he would get rid of all these players, and that's fine. But at the same time, we gotta be a little bit realistic about the situation and as much as you might want those things to happen, I mean, like half of that's not going to happen, but half of it should happen for the very least. That, like, again, I will say, like, the fact, like, of Rashford, Anthony, Casemiro, Um, those players, he says 20 players. I don't think he's necessarily wrong in like a certain sense of like 20 players, not 20 players exactly, but the way I see it right now is like there's a list of 8 or 10 that have to go immediately right now this summer window. And we could probably do that by Anthony, Rashford, Casemiro, Shaw. Let me look at the squad. Casemiro, Ericsson, uh, bu- bu- Luke Shaw, Lindelof, Evans, Rashford, Anthony, Sancho, but Sancho hopefully is going, so we don't have to worry about him. Um, Possibly Maguire, depending what we got to do there with that deal. Um, it's like 9. The way I see it is like 8 to 9 this this summer or whatever, and then you'd probably another 5 the next one. So not exactly 20, but yeah, if we're gonna revamp, we gotta rotate. But I think it has to come in phases. Like for example, like I would give Hoyland another season and see what he does. If it's very underwhelming, then you gotta go. There's certain players that I think they deserve another season. They deserve another chance. They deserve another opportunity to show if they can progress, they can grow, um, they can put in a better performances. There's other players that have been kind of at the club that they don't really deserve that. They don't have there's nothing for them to really offer. So um just don't say sell to low again. Yeah, for sure. Um I wouldn't. I seen enough of it. 16 need to go, including the ones that are leaving for free. So that's about 20. Yeah, maybe. But I again see. So for me, like Rasmus, I'm giving him another season, and Xerxes, I'm giving him another season. Even though Xerxes, I'm less convinced about than Rasmus, but I'd both give them another season. Plus, we actually really can't move them on unless somebody comes and gives us the money we paid for them. They got to give us the same exact amount or as close to it as possible, and that's just not going to happen um, because we can't afford it. Um, so those two, Bruno, I wouldn't sell unless we got significant amount of money. I'm talking about like at least 60, 70, 80 million for Bruno. And we got to have a replacement for him. And I'm talking about like I don't know, like a Florian Wirtz or something. But his injuries concern the shit out of me. But I'm just talking somebody in that prospect, that nature. It's got to be the next, um, top 3 attacking midfielder in the world. We got to, something like that. Um, Garnacho, I wouldn't sell. He's 20, and I think that's crazy. Um, to sell him at 20, I think that's insane. I think you could give him at least 1 to 2 more seasons, if not more, depending on how he does. Kobe's 19. He's definitely not going anywhere. Mount, I'd give him another go because I think Mount's a good player, but he just has to stay fit. And I don't know whatever the fuck they got to do to try and get this guy's fit. Send him to a cave, send him to the Himalayas, to the springs or some shit. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's unfortunate. Maybe I'm being a bit soft. But I think Mount's a good player, but he just has to stay fit. And if he can't stay fit, then he's got to go. He's back now. Let's see what happens. If he gets injured on Sunday, then just fucking sell him. You know what I mean? If he gets re-injured and he's out for like another 3 months or something, then just sell the guy because clearly it's a fucking problem. But Diallo, we're obviously keeping. Ericsson, he's going and he's done and dusted. Manuel Ugarte is 23 years old. I think he's good. I don't see a reason to sell him. I think he's good. Dorgu has been good so far. He's 20. Collier, 21. just got into the team. Needs to grow more. Lisandro, well, all right. I see maybe the point you're making there. Lisandro, two bad injuries in 2 seasons. He's 27 years of age. He's not getting any younger. I would still probably keep him, at least for the upcoming season, and then reevaluate for the next season. Maz, I'm keeping for the next season and reevaluate next season. Delit's been good, and he's not going anywhere. Maguire, you could sell or keep him as part of the bench. Delo, I'd keep Delo. Although I would like Frimpong, but I'd keep Delo. No problem with Delo. Luke Shaw, gotta go. Yoro, definitely staying. Lindelof, gotta go. Evans, definitely has to go. And then we have Amos and Fredrickson. And then Onana being there and Heaton. I would definitely sell Onana and be in there if I could. But realistically, Onana ain't going nowhere. And being there might go, but Onana ain't going nowhere this season, so it would have to be the following season. I feel like Maguire isn't going to go anywhere either. Lisandro definitely isn't going to be sold. Sure, they might try to move him, but who's going to take him? So I just don't see how any of that's going to happen. But Martinez needs to go. He's injury prone. I don't actually think he is though. I don't think. I actually don't think that Martinez is actually injury prone. I don't believe so. He suffered two bad injuries. Shit happens. But I actually don't think he actually fits the actual description of injury prone. Luke Shaw is definitely injury prone, and Mason Mount has a big potential to be injury prone because he's doing things very similar. Martinez, I think, has just been very unfortunate with it. I don't actually think he is injury prone. I don't believe he is. He had the real question is who will be here in 3 years? Well, I mean, it's a good question, but we don't have a clue. We don't have an absolute clue. I mean, Jim might not even be here in 3 years. I don't know. You know what I mean? Bruno needs to go and replace him with Goulet. Ugarte has no creativity. That's because Ugarte is a defensive mid. His job is to win the ball. But Ugarte is not a playmaker. Ugarte is a defensive mid. His job is to literally win the ball. Yeah, like Ugarte was literally not bought for creativity. Ugarte was there to win the ball. He's like Ugarte is like Conte. Conte ain't got no fucking ball playing abilities. Maguire is trash. It's not called out enough. Well, I think that's unfair. He was trash. I think last season he did very, very well for us and he was very important. This season he's been good too, but he's been in and out with injuries, and that's probably the only thing that's of concern. Yeah, ever since Maguire, ever since the captaincy was taken over Maguire has been very solid, very good player. He's played very, very good. So I think that's I think that's unfair on Maguire. Please don't tell me that the goalkeeper is not going anywhere. You'll give me depression. Well, I just don't think like we'll be able to. I understand that he's a huge problem. I do have an idea. I get it. I actually don't think he's big. I don't think I don't think he's bigger than Rashford and Sancho. Um, because I think it's two different things. It's two different things. For me, Sancho and Rashford have attitude problems and they have performance problems. I don't think Onana has an attitude problem. Doesn't seem like it. He has an ability issue. Um, in terms of what we need for goalkeeper. Now, I just don't know if we have the budget to move him on. Um, we might very well, but also we would have to see how we could sell him. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what United can necessarily do. All I know is that we 110% need a striker, and it can't be no fucking 20-year-old. It has to be Osimhen or Gyökeres, one of the two, or somebody else that's experienced. But it seems to be just them two. Um, we need one of those guys for sure. They got to lead the line. They got to take on the brunt of that responsibility and that pressure. We need those. We need those guys. We're gonna need some type of a 10. Um, Probably some type of another type of wing back, whether it's a winger or like a left back or a right back, or it's actually like a left winger, right winger, or some shit like that. We're gonna need a midfielder. Uh, and we probably need another. Probably need another center back as well. Um, so I don't know if we have. I don't know. I don't know where we prioritize this goalkeeper. He is one of the worst goalkeepers in Man United history. I mean, um we've had quite some. I mean, I don't think he's very good. Um, One of the worst in all of Manchester United's history, I think, is probably an exaggeration a bit. He's not good. I don't think he's one of the worst in the entire club's history. Because if you actually look at the history of the goalkeepers, we've had some fucking terrible goalkeepers. Um, you know, some Talibi, Ricardo, Ortez was fucking erratic as hell. And he would make, Onana reminds me of Barthez. That's what he reminds me of. He reminds me of Barthez. Like, he's erratic. Sometimes goals go into the net, and you say, how the fuck did the goalkeeper let those things go into the net? They shouldn't be going into net from that position. Sometimes he goes absolutely madman and starts doing Buffon type performances, but it's never on a consistent basis. Or he makes some like crazy consecutive saves, and he comes up big, but then that's never consistent. And he goes missing. He reminds me most of Barthez. Barthez was like that, where like Barthez would let the ball in the near post while he's standing on the post, and you would just be like, how do you even how does that even happen? You like he would literally be standing on top of the post, and they would shoot it near post, and the ball would still go into the net, and it was like a mystery as to like how does that even happen? Then sometimes he would make some crazy ass saves, but then he would make some crazy ass decision and like just like come out of the net for like, just that. So um Eric Ten Hag single-handedly damaged and set this club for so many years with those awful signings. He deserves prison time for what he did to us with those awful signings. Well, that's fine if you want to say that, but I would also say that you also then also have to blame the club, RSV, because who gave Eric Ten Hag that power? Who was running the club and doesn't have a damn clue about football, and therefore let the manager be 177% in charge of all transfers, and he had more power than anybody, pretty much. He was able to veto transfers. He was able to do whatever the fuck he wanted. So sure, he can get blamed for that because he went for the players and he went for the signings. He can't get blamed for the money because he has nothing to do with that. So you know, you want to blame him for signing Anthony? That's one thing. You want to blame him for saying that he spent 80 million on Anthony? That's not fair. He didn't do negotiations for 80 million. So, but then also, the club as well, our CEO, and everybody else that was involved. They gave him the power to do so because they didn't know anything about football. So, they're just as much as fault as he is, in my opinion. Because if they knew anything about what the fuck they were doing, for being in the job that they were in, they would have never allowed that. Um, they would have never allowed that the managers to have that much power. Um, and things don't work like that anyway. I mean, what we have now is more of a committee, which is more normal. Um, Guardiola had it or has it at City, and Klopp had it at Liverpool, and Slot is going to have it there as well. It's not like Guardiola just goes and like, give me this player, this player, this player, this player, this player, and they sign whoever the fuck they want. I don't think any manager has necessarily been successful like that. Not even Ferguson. I mean, Ferguson had people around him that would bring players to his attention and whatnot. Obviously, Ferguson, had an eye too as well. But um, what positions do you think that Amorim will target this summer, respectively? Striker, for sure. Number 10, number 9. Um, and then after that, I don't really know. Because I it seems like I'm trying to think now. We signed Dorgu, but he wanted Quenda, and Quenda to me is Quenda is a winger that can play wing back, but Quenda is like, in my opinion, Quenda is like Diallo. Quenda is, and that's why I think Quenda will probably be a big miss. Now he didn't want to play wing back apparently, which might be PR or not PR, but Quenda is like he's a winger first, wing back, like defender second. And I'm thinking since he wanted him that he might still want another player there, considering that I don't know what's gonna happen with Shaw. But we also have Amos, so maybe he just promotes him instead. But I don't know how good Amos is. You know, and then I'm thinking we probably need some sort of a center mid in anyway, because if I think he wants to move on Casemiro, and Ericsson is going to leave as well. Um, so that's 2 out of there. Or at least 1 for sure. Ericsson's going because he's not getting a new contract. His contract is gone. Casemiro's going to be a pain in the ass, and we're going to have to see what happens. But he should be going. I think Amorim would would like to get rid of him, but Casemiro can be a stubborn donkey and refuse to leave and just kind of just stay here. Um, and maybe a center back. Because we need more depth. If we play with 3, I think in terms of depth, we need another one. Regardless, because Evans is gone, even though he's old, but he won't be part of the squad. Lindelof is gonna go, and he's out the door. And then there's a potential for maybe they do sell Maguire, because there's an issue there with his contract or whatever. Or they re-sign him, one or the other. But we still need depth, so maybe another center back. And yeah. So striker, a number 10, a midfielder, a center back. We probably need one for every position. To be quite honest, we probably need one player for almost every position. We could definitely use another wing back. We could slash winger, whatever. A 10, a striker, somebody in the midfield, somebody at center back, and obviously we could use a goalkeeper, but we're not gonna get that. So, oh my God, Axlord is here as well. Everybody joining so late. I just let this continue to run because it turned interesting, right? It's um Onana is terrible, bro. Come on, he's so bad. I mean, no, but like he's bad. But like I'm trying to be fair. Like when you make the statement he's one of the worst goalkeepers in United's history. First of all, you have to go through the entire history of Manchester United and you have to look at teams of like the United that got relegated, the United that was like in the lower divisions for like 27 fucking years. Like I understand what you mean and you're exaggerating a bit. That's why I'm saying, yeah, he's bad. I don't know if I would say he's one of the worst goalkeepers in the history of the club. That's a huge statement to make. But yes, I do agree that he's not good enough for what we need. He's let us down. He's sort of a mess. And we need better. We need better. I will say it in that way. Um, yeah. Eric Ten Hag didn't want to work with Ranić though. Eric Ten Hag didn't want to work with the sporting director. Ranić was hired to be our sporting director. Yeah. I don't know because I would have to go and revisit the events of the timeline because I'm pretty sure. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, like I remember Ten Hag making some sort of statement about that when they asked him if he talked to Ralph Ranić or he listened to his advice, and he kind of brushed it off, saying like, "No, I want to see things for myself." And then that report came out later that like Ten Hag was the one that refused to work with Ranić, but at the same time, I also don't trust the club because Ranić was out there saying some things, and if I remember correctly, they pretty much made the decision to throw Ranić away before we even announced Eric Ten Hag as manager. So um, maybe both is true. Maybe he didn't want to work um, with Ranić, but also just be aware of the PR from the club because the club they like tried to spin that as well. So uh yes, but we can't blame Sir Jim for that because he wasn't in charge. No, we're not blaming Sir Jim for that. That wasn't Sir Jim. That was fucking dumbass. Richard Arnold. Richard Arnold and John Murtaugh and whoever else was there. And the Glazers, of course. Um Eric Ten Hag was too cocky thinking that he could handle it on his own. What a coward he was. Well, I don't know. Does that make him a coward? I think there was certain things that we don't get the answers to. Like, why did he continue to keep playing Marcus Rashford after Marcus Rashford kept playing like dog shit? And clearly, there was certain things. It was like, why do you keep forcing to play these players when these players are letting you down? So I don't know if that's out of cowardice or stubbornness. No, I don't know if he was afraid to make a change. I don't know if he was too stubborn to make a change because he just thought that it would work. There's some things that we don't have the answers to. Um, Dorgu is going to be a baller. So one midfielder. Yeah, I think Dorgu will be good. I like him so far. So, we'll see. But we've had worse than Onana. Oh yeah, we definitely had worse than Onana. Onana is not. Listen, Onana is not. He's not in my opinion. Like he's not De Gea. He's not like Van de Sar, of course. And he ain't no fucking Schmeichel, that's for sure. But like, he's not as bad as some of the goalkeepers that we had was like absolute calamities. Just I mean, he's just very average. Very average. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad. That's pretty much like the definition of average. Like sometimes you shit, and sometimes he does some good actions. It's not really consistent. It goes up and down, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Ray says, or X says, the one player that they kicked out humiliated us on Monday, flabbergasted. I mean, not really. I mean, yeah, like he ripped us apart in terms of running, but they didn't do anything. Axe, they literally did nothing the entire match. The only thing that they did do was defend, and it wasn't even that good. Again, like, we lost that match not because Forrest outplayed us, not because Anthony Alenga was Cristiano Ronaldo times Messi 2.0 and was so absolutely fantastic. He just blew us away. Like, yeah, okay, he ran 85 meters on a breakaway and he was so fast and he scored a goal. That's good for him. He scored one goal. That's great. It's football. Happens. You know what I mean? The thing is when Manchester United have 22 shots and 8 of them are on target, and we don't score one goal, and we have an XG of 1.34, and the opposing team that's home has an XG of fucking point four or something. When Manchester United have 70-80% of the possession for the match, and the home team has 20. When we completed way more passes, way more dribbles, we had 10 corners, they had 2. We dominated that match. Our problem, which has been our problem for multiple seasons now, is we don't know how to get the ball into the back of the net so that we get points on the scoreboard and that we finish the game with more points than the opposing team. I don't think it was. I labeled it as unlucky because in Nottingham Forest did not outplay us in any aspect in that match. Anywhere you look in any statistic, they did not outplay us anywhere. But yet, that's football, and they won the match 1-0. They didn't dominate us though, so I would say embarrassing if we were played off the pitch. We weren't played off the pitch. We just lost a game of football, and our former player that we sold scored a goal on us, and that shit happens. Danny Welbeck scores on us all the time. Ray says left wing back striker 10 is realistic. Yeah, see, the thing is, I don't know. Like, we went for Dorgu because he needed the left wing back, right? But Quenda was still being mentioned, and Quenda obviously plays in that position. So I don't know if they go in for another one. But it is what it is. We are broke. I mean, not completely. We're not rich. We got some money, and depending on what we do with the Europa League, we might have even more money. So we'll see. We are forced to win the European League. Yeah, if we want to have like a really big summer, and we don't depend on sales. Listen, they could say whatever they want. I don't believe that we're not broke. We might not have 250 million to spend or some shit, but there's definitely a budget. But we'll be able to spend some type of money, and then we'll have to sell to get more players. Which is what we don't necessarily want to do, because that means that we're just waiting for things to happen. So obviously, it's better if we win the Europa League. We'll have more money up front, and then you're just adding money on top of everything. So it is what it is. We need a better manager. Well, maybe we do, maybe we don't. How about we give the manager a proper go? How about we let the manager get a transfer window? We let the manager get a preseason, and let's see what happens. Because actually, yesterday I looked and yeah, okay, yeah, like Amorim's managed more games in the league now. Um, But from the point from when Ten Hag started the season to when he got sacked, we've literally been performing pretty much the same. In fact, Amorim probably has a chance to finish the league in a higher position. So I don't know. It just feels weird that he took over in the middle of a season. You know, I'd like for the guy to I'd like for the guy to get a proper regular first season and see how it goes. So um, almost as if we could replace the goalkeeper, who would you be replacing him with? Lion says Juan Garcia. That's been his guy. What makes you think I'm not going to sign a goalkeeper? I bet we do. If we Depends if we sell him or not. I think that's what it is. I just don't know if we're actually going to do it. Um, I think we will get some type of a goalkeeper. I just don't know what goalkeeper because I think Binder is going to be sold and Heaton is retiring, I believe, or something like that. So we're going to need a backup at the very least. And maybe the backup is somebody that's good enough to take the starting position. And now people always make this argument of like, well, you're not going to have Onana on this wage be like the backup, but like, yeah, but like at the same time, like shit happens, doesn't it? Like, you know, there's many goalkeepers that like, I mean, look at okay, like maybe they weren't on the same wages, but like the goalkeeper, who was the goalkeeper for Arsenal that they sold to to the other Premier League team. The English guy. Why can't I remember his name? Like he totally lost it. I mean, he looked pretty good. Like as a shot stopper, he had a very good season. Then all of a sudden, Arteta was like, "Yeah, but you can't play with your feet, and I want a fucking ball playing goalkeeper." And then he went and got Raya on loan, and that was the fucking that was the end of that goalkeeper. He he lost his starting spot immediately. He went to the bench for a player that was not even actually bought but was on loan at Arsenal, and he lost his number one spot immediately, and then that was over for him. His career at Arsenal done, gone out the door next season immediately. Something like that could happen, where all right, you get rid of Biender. Maybe we can't get rid of Onana per se, because maybe we just can't get a deal for him, unless somebody from Saudi Arabia wants to help us out. But at the same time, you can get a goalkeeper that is number two fighting for number one. And listen, if this guy, whoever it is, depends who it is, they come in and they're good. Onana goes to number two, and then he leaves in the following summer. It's a possibility. Possibility. Um, the club didn't want Ralph because he started telling the truth. How we need surgery. Yeah, he was saying some things out there, and yeah, they definitely weren't happy with that. So uh, that's for sure. Um, but yeah, that's what I've been. I mean, that's what we all say. And I think they tried to spin it later because Ten Hag said something about like he didn't want to listen to Ralph. He wanted to see with his own eyes or something like that. So I guess people were just like, he should have went upstairs. He should have. And again, I don't give a shit if Eric Ten Hag didn't want to do that. Um, Again, if you have people that are in charge of the football club, like hopefully at least maybe we do now, that is like a decent management team, where like they know what the fuck they're doing, even the slightest bit. Like you you would tell Eric Ten Hag, I don't give a fuck if you don't want or don't like you would tell Eric Ten Hag, I don't give a shit if you don't want to work with the director of football, and I don't care if you want to do it all yourself. If there's a problem, then we just won't fucking hire you. We'll hire somebody else. If not, I'm in charge of running the football club, and I believe that we need a fucking director of football in place, and you have to work with him. Like You know, but this is what happens when you have incompetence from the top all the way down. It trickles all the way down. So we had the people in charge, the ones that hired Ten Hag. They gave him all the power. They didn't know fuck all. Um, and they made decisions like letting Ralph go and pretty much throwing him out of the club for one reason or another. Whether it was because he said we need surgery or it was because Ten Hag said that, you know, I don't want to work with him. Either way, it's fucking stupidity, you know? But at least we don't have those people there anymore. And um, hopefully we'll do better now going forward. Almost says I'm not trying to be negative. I just have a strong opinion. I know you do, and that's okay. I'm okay with that on these players, and I don't think half of them are good enough, and that's fine. That's fine. You know, you listen. I said it before. I said you're very opinionated, and we respect that here, and we welcome that. That's okay, and you kept it clean as well, which is good. And you kept it pretty respectful as well. You know, because it can get nasty out there, especially on like social media and stuff. People get out of control when they get, you know, in their feelings about things. But yeah, it's all right. That's what I was saying. I could tell you feel very strongly about those things. You do believe in them. Seriously enough. Even though we don't have to agree with them, which is fine. But yeah, we do. I respect that as much, and you keep it, you know, you keep it go. You try to at least make some good points or valid points. You don't just like, you know, piss in the wind with what you're saying, pretty much. Um, don't you think we should still back United too? Yeah, yeah. They had no motivation in them. They sacked Eric Ten Hag as the same shit except for the score. Um, and no motivation in no motivation in them. Amorim, he just Axe just doesn't like Amorim. That's all it is. It just doesn't like Amorim because Amorim replaced Eric Ten Hag. That's why. Um, we don't need Champions League. One season out of Europe will help the team. It may very well do. The problem is the financials. Um, I think it helped Arsenal. Um, it did. I think it helped Arsenal, but Arsenal could afford it. Could afford it, I guess. Um, you know, whereas we've been going backwards. So I don't know if we can necessarily afford it. Maybe we can afford it, and they're just making a big fucking deal about it because the Glazers like we can't take dividends or some shit. You know what I mean? I don't know. Um, he came from work and ate too much. Ramsdale, yes, that was his name. Ramsdale, yeah, Ramsdale. Fucking Ramsdale just gone. Amorim is shit. Malaka, as a Gattuso would say. Well, Gattuso's shit too as a manager. We need to get rid of Amorim, Ineos, and the Glazers now. Well, none of that's happening, so um, we need to range and revolt. That's not happening either. I mean, you could go join the 1958. They're doing a sit-in, um, if you want, Axe. They're doing a sit-in. That's the revolt that's coming. They're doing a sit-in during the City game. Obviously, we need Glazers out. Amorim, I think, has literally nothing to do with anything. And Ineos, they still have time to prove themselves right or wrong. 1 year in, I'm not one of these people. They've been here for a year. I don't know. You walk into a place that's been shit, literally just shit on the floor, all over the floor for 10 years straight, and you tell me you're gonna make it clean. Um, Immediately. Now, I reserve my judgment until later. And I'm fine about that. Let's forget about football and I'll watch cricket. Nah, I'm good. And Eric changed his channel to Manchester Originals Experience. That is honestly the way I feel about it as a goalkeeper, is that he's the biggest problem. I don't know if he's like, I mean, in some situations, yes. But I don't know if he's the biggest problem. Here's my problem with this. everybody said that David De Gea had to go. Well, not everybody, right? I'm trying to be fair. I'm not saying you were one of these people, but there was a large majority of people at the last season of David De Gea that said David De Gea was a problem and he is our biggest problem, and that when we sell David De Gea and we get a goalkeeper that can play with his feet, Manchester United will transform into a top team, and that clearly has not fucking happened because David De Gea and the goalkeeper was not actually the biggest issue at United. There was obviously, clearly, bigger issues ahead of the goalkeeper, and I still kind of feel like that. I'm not saying Onana is the best goalkeeper. I'm just saying that I feel like, in terms of the goalkeeper, does he make a fuck up? Does he make a mistake? Sure. Like the goal that we conceded against Forest, I feel like he should have been able to save that. It was close enough to him. He has a problem when he's diving low to the ground. He's too big of a guy, and it's awkward. He doesn't get the angle, and he's too slow. And that's happened numerous amounts of times. So I think that is an issue, and I think it does limit him, and it stops him from being a good shot stopper. But again, my thing is, I look at that, and I'm like, well, issue number one is we were on a corner and we allowed one player to run 85 meters without being fucking touched. So that's an issue there. Also, on top of that, I'm like, okay, even if you blame the goal on Onana, and even if he makes one fuck up and one mistake and it's one goal, we still have an issue of either it's creating enough chances or then finishing the chances. Like, we had 8 shots on target and we couldn't score one goal. We had an XG of 1.34 or whatever the fuck it was, and we couldn't score. Now, like, if Onana makes a fuck up and lets in one goal, well, the team should be able to score 2 goals. But, you know, if Onana's making a fuck up and we lose the game by 1 goal because we can't even score, then, you know, everybody goes and is like, Onana, it's his fault and he's the biggest problem. And I'm like, well, he might be a problem. I don't know. I don't know if he's the biggest problem, because to me, a bigger problem is you have a team that literally can't put the ball into the back of the net for one reason or another. So I don't know. I come from the mentality of, like, you're going to concede goals. Obviously, try not to concede as many goals. Try to concede as least amount of goals as possible. But I come from the mentality of, you're going to concede a goal. I don't give a shit how good defense you play. Like, you will concede a goal. So that's why you have to go and score 3, you know, or you have to go and score 4. Like, you just kill the game. Like, they will score some bullshit random goal. They might score 2, but that's why you score 3, or that's why you score 4. So for me, the attack is the bigger issue, because we need to be scoring goals. We need to be scoring goals. We need to figure out how to score like 3 goals a game. And we haven't been able to do that. So Onana needs to be sold this summer to save the club. Well, I don't know if they're gonna do it. I don't know if they're gonna do it. There was some talk like last week about it, but you know, well, I guess we gotta wait till the summer. We gotta wait till the summer. Next season, no excuses. Amorim's preseason has already begun, the longest preseason in our history, since his team couldn't ever compete for EPL. Next season, we need results fast. I mean, technically, sure, yeah, but like, I mean, he also needs the transfer window. So, and not for nothing, we were talking about this the other day, and you weren't there, Ax, but you know, just to point out that, like, the lineup against Forest, Xerxes, first season, Dorgu just joined in January, Ugarte, first season, Maz, first season, Dalit, first season, Yoro, first season. That's 6 out of the starting 11 that they're in their first season. They're new. So half of our starting 11, I mean, at this current moment in time, you know, first season. They need time to gel, but this season has been a disaster because we started with one manager, We then fired that manager after 3 months. Then we got in another manager, and then that manager was like, well, not even just the manager, but also, I guess Will Cox and whoever else. They decided that they were like, all right, well, we're going to get this manager and we're going to change the system and the style of play completely. And it doesn't necessarily fit the way we play. So, it takes some gel time as well. Like, there's all different types of factors. It's not just the manager. I mean, there's all types of shit. The fact that we have 6 players in their first season, starting matches. I mean, where's the familiarity? And then we got Bruno, who's obviously probably our best player and our leader. And he's been here for 5 seasons. We have Garnacho, who's a kid who had one good season last season, struggling this season. We have Casemiro, who has the experience and the accolades of Real Madrid, but sometimes he's missing his legs, but he still gives some effort. And then we have Onana, who's just kind of a mess. And you never know what you're going to get from him. Right? He probably always has a mistake in him. Sometimes he makes some decent, crazy saves. Rasmus is in his second year. And it's only going to get a little bit more like that because we are going to buy some players. We're probably going to buy like 4. I would say probably 4 players. I'm thinking. So we're going to add to that, but we got to see. We got to see what happens. So, got to see what happens. Onan is the biggest problem we need to get rid of. He's a goalkeeper and can't save shot. Well, that is definitely a problem. Let's all go to the sit-in, and hopefully there will be tea and cupcakes, and we can talk about the weather. Yeah, that's what I say. The solution is the revolution. Well, then you should start. You should start the revolution, Axe, because it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, I would love if it did, Axe, but the reason why I don't give it no time is because it's literally not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We had an opportunity to do it, we didn't do it, and therefore it ain't going to happen. And unless we go negative money, the Glazers are going to be here. They're going to be here for quite some time. They're going to be here for another 10, probably another 10 plus years. So we don't have the players to do that, but the goalkeeper is a problem. Yeah. Like, I'll be honest, I don't blame the manager. I don't blame the manager either. These players are shit. Fair enough. I'm willing to give the manager time to work with his own players. It's not even just about his own players, though, in my argument. It's also the fact that, like, so the way I view it is that, like, over the past 10 years, we've mainly tried to build a team that played a 4-2-3-1 and counterattack. That's pretty much been the entire team. When Ralph Rangnick came in and played whatever it was, a 4-3-3 or some shit, and made them press, they did it for 20 minutes, and then it was either they were like, fuck this, I don't want to run, or they were like, fuck this, I can't run. And they didn't do it ever again after that. And I think he realized that, so he didn't even try to attempt to do it, which is why he said we need open heart surgery. And the way I look at it is that Ten Hag, again, was playing some sort of a possession kind of counterattack type of football. And Amorim's football is possession based, but it's more on the front foot, or at least it's supposed to be. And it's not really counterattack. It's more it's supposed to be more risk taking. So I just don't think, like, over the past, I don't know, let's say like 3 seasons or so, I think that's where the majority of the players that we have now are from. They just don't fit. Well, not all of them. I think there's some of them that you can convert them, and some of them they just need some time. I don't think there's many of them, but there's some of them definitely that can be used one way or another, whether they'll be the starting star or they'll be the substitute or whatever to fill out the squad, to fill out the depth. Yeah, I think there's some players that he has right now that he can use, and I think that's what's happening. they're learning. He's prepping them. Then also has to get players that actually fit the system. It doesn't have to be like a player from Sporting, for example, or whatever. But it's got to be somebody that has the actual qualities to do what is required in the roles of his team, which I feel like we're kind of lacking. I think, like, for example, Dorgu, I think looks very good. I think based off of the system, and what he requires from the wingbacks, and what Dorgu has as a profile for a player. So far, from what I've seen from him, he looks like he's pretty much a perfect fit for the system and for Amorim. So we need more players like that in other areas, and then the players that we do have that we can work with and that have something to develop and grow and have some potential. We then also have to work with them and get them to a level where they are integrated with the system well enough. I think Maz plays pretty decent. I like Maz. I like the effort he gives us. I think he's actually pretty good. I like when he picks up the ball and goes forward, and I don't know, he does that very well. And he just gives, I don't know, he gives this sort of like he's always fighting. He's always fighting. He's always battling out there. And he shows some strength most of the times. He's fairly strong. So I like him there, and I like the lid as well. I think the lid is good enough to be in there. Um, I think I think what we really have to sort out is kind of the tens, the striker. Um, and maybe somebody in the midfield. At this current moment, I don't know. With that disconnect of turning passes and crosses into goals is the biggest issue for me, I think, because I think if we figure out how to score more goals on a consistent basis, I think number one, we're gonna look a lot better. We're gonna be in a way better position. Like, we might not be there in the finished article to be like, this is the team that's gonna challenge for the title or they're gonna win the title. But to me, it's just like it's like we're a fucking grizzly bear with like no teeth and no claws. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you look at it and you're like, oh shit, like it's a big ass bear. But then you realize like the bear has like no claws and it's got no teeth, so it's like not gonna hurt you. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I feel like our team is at the moment. Like, we can be, I don't think this group and this set of players is actually 13th material. I think they're higher than that. I think all the different circumstances in the season with sacking the manager and hiring this manager and getting this guy in, and injury here and losing this player there, I think that shit has just combined itself into a giant ball of mess. And I just feel like if we can figure out how to get this team to score, it changes the dynamic of the team. It changes how the opponents that play against us respond to us. They're not afraid of us because they know we can't score a fucking goal. So I wouldn't be afraid either. Like, I kind of used to do this when I played too. Like, we used to have a little league table online of the teams that we would play in Sunday league, and you could see, and like, when we were playing the bottom, when we were in like second place and we were playing the last place team, and I see the last place team has 0 wins and they have fucking negative goal difference. Rightfully or wrongfully, I was going to the match and I'm like, these fucks ain't gonna do nothing today. I was like, it's gonna be a fucking walk in the park. I was like, I'm just gonna sit here. I was like, I ain't really gonna track back because they're not gonna score. They haven't scored all fucking season. They can't do nothing. Meanwhile we're firing on all cylinders. And I just feel like that's really one of our bigger issues right now, is that we're all bark, no bite. We don't we need to figure out how to score 2-3 goals a game. We need to be clinical. That disconnect somewhere in the forward lines with the wing backs, the 10s, and the striker. That shit needs to be sorted out. I mean, whether that's getting Awesome in because Rasmus isn't good enough or whatever, um, it is what it is. I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily all that we need to do. Maybe we need some more creative players as well. Um, some better creative players in certain areas, whether that's the wing back or the 10s, to help the striker as well. I'm sure Osimhen will score some more goals than Rasmus, but also I can't help but feel like there's still a lack of service anyway. I'm like, so I think maybe we need a little bit of both. So, um, I mean, you say he's unsuitable for this team, but maybe the team is unsuitable for him, which I'm fine with because our team has been shit, Axe. We've barely accomplished anything in 10 years. So I have nothing against Ruben Amorim. It's like I didn't have anything against Eric Ten Hag. I didn't have anything against Solskjaer, and I didn't have anything against Mourinho, and I didn't have anything against. And the only thing that I had against him was that I gave them 3 years, and after some point of 3 years, you don't show progress, you gotta go. Because I do understand how one season can be good and one season can be bad. That's fucking normal. But by third season, you can't continue to go backwards. So, he's had, I don't know what you want to call it, half a season. I don't know. I won't say anything until later. So, if we finish 12th, then top 11 should be our target next season. My standards are high. Yeah. I mean, listen, if you finish 12th and you finish 11th the next season, that is improvement, right? So, like, but then they do that whole thing by points, right? It's not really about the number; it's about number of points, apparently. I need to buy some huge water bottle like that. It is good. Number one, it keeps the water cold for over 24 hours. So if you like very cold water, or if you want to put a hot drink in it, but if you like very cold water, yeah, it keeps it like very, very cold. Even in the summer, it keeps it very, very cold for at least 24 hours. So that's always good. And you never run out of water either. I forgot how many ounces this is, but it's 46 ounces, 1.36 liters of water. And I drink one of these every day to make sure that I drink all my water. Do you think the signings will be the board signings, or do you think the manager will give the green light? Also, we need 2 midfielders, a striker, a center back, a goalkeeper, and a right wing back. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I wouldn't even disagree with those positions. Probably. I'm trying to think. 2 midfielders. When you say midfielders, do you mean like center mids, or do you mean like one attacking mid and one like center mid CDM? Like you don't think we need like a cam, like a center attacking mid? 'Cause you say 2 midfielders. I don't know if you're lumping them together, um, or whatever. But yeah, we definitely need a striker. I would take a center back. I would do the goalkeeper thing if it doesn't stop us from doing the striker thing or whatever, and um, maybe even the wing back. But I don't know. It depends. I see with Diallo. The thing is like Diallo. I don't know. Where were we doing best with him, when he was playing inside or when he was playing wingback? I think when he was playing wingback, because he's winger first, attack mind first, and I think that's actually what Amorim wants. Is it for it to be wingers as the wingbacks, but they obviously have to do the defensive part as well. But I think there was a statistic before Ahmad got injured that it was like every time Ahmad played at right wing back, we were undefeated and we scored first, and it was something crazy like that. And then every time that Ahmad didn't start right wing back and he started as one of the 10s, um, we weren't as effective, and I think that's because the wingbacks are very important in that position. But as for your first question, Olmo, um, I think the signings are going to be probably both. To be quite honest, I think we go off of what they say, and I guess we gotta believe what they say unless we're told otherwise. We are supposed to have a committee. So yesterday we talked about we had an update somewhere. Let me see if I can bring. Oh no, I deleted it. It's like it said Jason Wilcox, Vivel, Ruben Amorim, and Omar Barada are going to be in charge of the summer transfer window this summer, with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir David Brailsford, just like overseeing or whatever. So they're not so Brailsford and Sir Jim, they're not really doing the dirty work. They're just like watching over the progress, I guess. The other four, they're going to be the ones that are heavily involved. So they're going to identify the players, make the decisions. So it should be a committee. So it shouldn't necessarily be just the board or just the manager. It's supposed to be the way it's supposed to be, like how it is in any normal football club, a team concentrated effort, where the manager is involved, but there's also football people that can help the manager so that the manager isn't just, using just his eyes or just his thought process, like it's done at every other regular football club, unlike Manchester United. So yeah, we definitely don't want another Sancho. And the right players, and we need to take our time with them, not rush into it and look at the background. Look at. I do agree. I've been saying these types of things for quite some time. You have to get the profile player, the personality of the player, the character of the player. Those things matter. I think they've done a good job so far since they come in Ineos. I think they are looking at those things, and I think players like Mateus de Ligt, even Euro, you can kind of tell the way he, regardless of whatever you think of their ability, um, it, you can kind of look at the way they carried themselves, the way they speak, the way they are on the pitch anyway, like how they carried themselves on the pitch. I think they're doing a pretty good job of finding a well balanced player where there's some ability, or there's good ability, but there's also a good mentality, a good attitude, good mindset, a good, I guess, personal life outside of the pitch, a good character of player. I think all the players that they've signed, when you look at the six of them, the six major ones, they all look pretty good. Now Dorgu is new. He's a young kid. Um, Still take some time to get to know him, but you know, um, we'll see. We'll see. Ruben Amorim will bring back the glory days again. We'll back him from the Shefford end, and he'll turn the Reds around. Yeah, that's the song that they made. Do you think we will get a right wing back, or do you think the Sporting guy was the only one we wanted? Well, there's got to be some other ones out there. For me, I think I think if that was a position he was looking to get, um, then that should be a position that he's looking to get, regardless of if Quenda was going to be the guy or not. Because in football, you never get all of your top targets, right? You try and get as many as possible. But, if you miss out on A, you should have a B. And if you miss out on A, you definitely want to get B because you don't want to end up with D. But yeah, I don't know. We'll find out more as we get closer to June. But yeah, I don't think you can get any worse than what it is. You can only get better. Well, that's what we say, right? So, but it can get worse. It could always get worse. It could be much worse. It's bad, but it could get worse. Bro, we need to win the UCL next season. We're not winning the UCL. One attacking and one set the mid. Okay, yeah. All right, fair enough. Yeah, I agree with that. Lions has gone into full singing mode, chant mode. We already have the best right wing back in the world at the club. What's his name, Grace? Eric has been talking crap for 3 hours. The definitely just like said, like, what? Yeah, I'm still here. I mean, it's Friday. I don't even care anymore. YouTube hates us. They don't want to. They don't want to push the. They don't want to push the videos because we didn't make videos for like 3 weeks. So now YouTube doesn't want to put us in the algorithm. I'm just here, just fucking around with YouTube. Just like I'm just gonna make 4-hour videos now. You can do whatever you want. I think he was the guy, in my opinion. That's why I think we've moved on to different positions. Euro is good, but I'm not convinced that that's all at the moment. But I'm willing to give him time. Well, we got to give him time. You got to give him time, Almo, because not every player is like not every player is like you watched him for a season and you and that's it, or you watch him for half a season and then that's it. I don't know. I don't know how old you are, Almo. You don't have to tell us, but I'm just saying, like, at least for me, I grew up in like the Fergie era. That was my whole thing. That was like almost kind of from the start of like when we started fucking winning everything. And it was always a little bit of a mixture. Like he demanded a lot, and you needed to fucking be doing your job, and you had to be good to be in his squad. You had to be a hard worker. It wasn't just all about talent. You had to have the correct attitude. But one of his things that always stuck with me, and I don't know why, he said it once, or it was a thing. I don't know if he actually said it, but I'm pretty sure he did. Um, I could have swore he did. He said it in a press conference one time where maybe he was being protective a little bit, but he said, listen, these players that we get not in the Premier League, he's like, listen, we got to give him a grace period. You got to give him at least a season. And I think he was saying that for players that were of age of like 25, who are already considered experienced, not a player that's like 19. I think it goes a little bit longer than that. So like, for example, for me, it would be like you go and get Osimhen. Osimhen's experienced. He's expected to perform. If Osimhen comes and he's our striker and this guy scores 2 goals like Rasmus Højlund and plays to the level of Rasmus Højlund in one season, I'll say get him the fuck out. You're 23. All right, fair enough. I'm not that much older than I'm 7 years older than you. But yeah, I just think it changes for circumstance. I think somebody like Euro, he's 19, he just came to the league. Maybe he won't ever hit the heights. Maybe he won't be world class. Maybe he won't be like Vidic or Ferdinand or Van Dijk or whatever. But maybe he will, or maybe he'll just be decently good. He doesn't have to be a superstar, you know what I mean? But he can be somebody that's a good squad player or something like that. He may not be good enough, but I think for me, when I look at Euro, I'm like, all right, you have this season, and you got another 2 seasons. Because he's young, because he's 19, and anything can happen. And I still think that's still fairly young because some players they don't start hitting heights until they're like 24, 25, 26. Some of them go into their prime at 27. And they turn into, an outstanding player. It depends on the players. So, I mean, there must be something there because Real Madrid want him. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's all types of things like that, right? But then it's also about not what it was, but what it is. We have to make sure, because it goes both ways. It's not just about the player. It's also about the club. I mean, the club has to do correct things. We have to make sure that we take care of Euro. We got to make sure that we're providing him a platform for him to grow as much as possible and develop his game as much as possible. And sometimes the club is more responsible than the players. Sometimes the player is more responsible than the club, and sometimes both are just equally responsible as to like a downfall. We've had this discussion about Rashford kind of one time because Axe said that, you know, Manchester United let Rashford down, which I don't necessarily agree, but at the same time, I try to split the blame because I say, yeah, I don't think we had the best environment for Marcus Rashford that led him down a good path. But at the same time, he is also a human being. You make your own decisions, and therefore you end up with your own consequences. Um, so it's a little bit of both. You know what I mean? Um, Rashford, I think maybe there's a chance next season. Nah, see, for me, I think I don't think it's an issue necessarily of talent with Rashford. I think it's an issue of attitude and mentality. I could be wrong. I just get the feeling of when I see Rashford at United, it just seemed like he was doing those things that people do when they're in relationships, when they're like they're kind of over the person, or they're not happy with the person anymore, but they stick around with the person because that's what they know, or they've been with the person for quite some time, or maybe they're not comfortable with change and they don't want to change, and it's more easier for them to stay. That's kind of the feeling I got with Rashford. I'm like, I see him, I'm like, he doesn't look happy, he doesn't look motivated here, um, and he needs a fresh start. And also, our fans are quite agitated with him and fed up with him or done with him. I think from both sides, it's just a point of like, we both need to move on. And clearly, it does seem that way because, again, I never questioned his ability. It was his attitude and his mentality. And clearly, he's gone to Villa and it's like a new life in him. And now he's getting back into the England squad. And it's like, it's just more positive for him. So, Craig says he needs to get out of my club. His name is Amorim. He needs to get out of my club. I feel like Eric is ignoring me. I'm not ignoring you. You're talking about sing-alongs. I'm not singing. I can't sing. Do you think Ruben has made his mind up on Rashford and Sancho? Well, I think uh, I don't know. I think Sancho doesn't have a chance because I don't even think that Sancho. Um, I feel like Sancho doesn't fit what Ruben needs, and also I don't think that. I kind of think the Sancho thing is maybe rightfully or wrongfully it's above Ruben. I think it's one that they've determined that there's just no shot based off of the way he acted and the way he conducted himself as a professional player. I just don't think there's anybody really at Manchester United in the position of a hierarchy, whether that's Jason Wilcox or Barada or whatever. I just don't see how they would want him there. Um, so with Sancho, I don't think it really has anything to do with Ruben. Um, Even though I don't think that I don't even think Ruben um I don't even think Ruben wants him really. But I don't think he's nothing to do with him. For Rashford's a little bit difficult because uh, there's always like the PR aspect. I mean, it was a little bit I don't know. Ruben would come out and he would say things like, "We want Marcus to be his best," and this and that, and it seemed like he was kind of toting the PR lines. Then he came out that one day and he said that um he'd rather start uh a 57-year-old goalkeeping coach over Marcus Rashford, essentially, even though those weren't his exact words. He basically said any player that doesn't try. So he said that Rashford wasn't trying and that he would start the goalkeeping coach over him, which is a pretty harsh line to say. I don't know. I guess I mean, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I would say then there's a piece of me that I'm thinking about Sir Jim and Sir Jim's interview. And when they asked Sir Jim Ratcliffe about Ruben Amorim's decision about Marcus Rashford, and the way Sir Jim Ratcliffe answered that almost seemed like even Sir Jim was like disappointed, disgusted by, I guess, the way Marcus was carrying himself in training sessions and stuff like that and behind the scenes. I don't know. But I'm just saying that's kind of the feeling I got when I watched that interview and he asked him that question. And he said, and so Jim was just like, yes. But the way he said it and the way he looked like he was like it was like a message that he knew that he was sending. Like, you weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing as a professional, and that's why you're not fucking here. So why do you think that it's not worked out for Sancho? I was so excited when we signed him. All good questions. Hopefully you join us next time, Almo, because you definitely keep the show going. I was gonna end the show an hour and a half ago until you joined, Almo. I was gonna end the show an hour and a half ago. I am gonna end it soon, but we will speak. I'll answer that question. We will speak after the match on Sunday. We're gonna be live. We might even do a double on Sunday. We might do a recap of the match, and then we might do some topical stuff after. But we're gonna see how it goes. But I will give you my opinion on Sancho. I think it started off for Sancho. I think it started off with there was a lot of hype. Number one. Number two, when we actually got him, I don't know necessarily what it was, but it seemed like Ali didn't really know what to do with him. I remember specifically we spent 2 summers trying to get him. We got him the second summer, and we go to the start of the season, and we're starting off the season, and he's not starting, and he's on the bench, and he's coming off the bench, and a lot of people were looking at it like, well, hold on, we spent 2 summers, we spent 80 million. This is supposed to be the guy, and you're not starting him. You're keeping him on the bench. So everybody at that point was kind of confused and was like, what the fuck is going on here? And then I think the shifting of him, putting him left and right, and it just seemed like he didn't really know what to do with him, which makes me question if Solskjaer even actually wanted him, or that was something that the club pushed because of commercial, because Jadon Sancho was very popular, especially online and then social media following. He was very popular at the time. It might have been one of a marketing ploy. Big name, big statement signing, baller, this and that. And also that will play into the fact that maybe because we were doing signings where it was more focused on commercial and not from a football aspect, maybe he didn't actually really fit our squad. Maybe he didn't have the correct personality. He didn't have the correct attitude or the correct mentality. Maybe he had some weaknesses there. Maybe it just wasn't a good fit, but we signed him anyway because he's Jadon Sancho and he has a big name and a big following and we can sell some shirts. So that might have been a problem. Then I think from there, it didn't go particularly well. Solskjaer ended up getting sacked. Then Ten Hag came in. Then there was that whole thing with Ten Hag, and clearly there was something wrong with Jadon Sancho because he wasn't, supposedly they tell us he wasn't correct mentally. He had some things going on, or his mind wasn't right, so he had to take a little bit of a hiatus, which Ten Hag supported, and the rest of us supported as well. And we were there backing him and still behind him. And he came back, and it just didn't go well with Eric Ten Hag. They clearly had disagreements, or they just didn't see eye to eye on certain things. And then came that situation. And then it all fell apart after that. And I think might be. I'm gonna tell you this. I listen. I don't know the guy personally. But I will say he clearly had some issues, mentality wise. Right? There was an instance of the fact that he had to take a break from football for 3 months, and Ten Hag sent him to wherever to get his mind right. But then there's also the viewpoint of the manager said that you didn't train well, and you as a professional footballer decided you were going to be gangster or something, um and write a note on your notes app and put it on social media and hold your ground for 7 days and kind of act like a jackass, and play fucking video games at home and not give a fuck, um and kind of make these statements. I mean, still, I question his mentality. When Rashford puts up an Instagram post of him, at Villa after the game, and he writes freedom, like, you're childish. So maybe he just wasn't the correct profile of player as well, but we kind of overlooked it. So, you know, um, you have a wonderful voice. Look at Eric's eyes. Let him sleep. Nah, I mean, it's kind of late. I gotta go do things, but almost says, yeah, but we bought him to be a right winger and we played him on the left. Well, this is what I'm saying. Did we buy him to be a right winger though? Because if we bought him to be a right winger, then why didn't we play him on the right wing? So it's like they didn't. It's just like it just seems like Ali didn't know what the fuck to do with him. So I don't know what was going on at the time. I don't know if Ali really had any say and the club was just throwing signings onto him and he was like, I got to figure out what to do with them. This is what I'm saying. But, we thought we were getting him to be the right winger because we had a huge void in the right wing. Yet we played him on the left. And I didn't get that either. And he's doing that at Chelsea also now. But when he was at Dortmund cooking, he was on the right. And he was cooking at Dortmund. But, maybe it's the league. Maybe it's also the country. Could be. Could be the country. Could be a combination of things. We don't really know. I mean, only I guess he can kind of tell us. At least what he feels like it is. But it could be the fact that he was playing in Bundesliga. Could be the players at Dortmund complimented him. Could be the formation that they were playing. Could be that he was just very happy in Germany. Maybe the lifestyle is good, and maybe he was in a better mindset, and he was in a better mentality, and maybe he had some different people around him there that he now has different people around him when he's in England. It could be all types of things. When I am watching, it looks like he tries too hard. I don't know. It's weird. Even in the Chelsea shirt, he looks out of place. Yeah, I mean, it's probably Van de Beek. Ali also didn't know how to use Van de Beek. Well, to be fair, I mean, when Ten Hag came, he didn't want to use Van de Beek either. So Van de Beek was out of this world, such a great talent, and I do believe Ali ruined him. I also think he didn't want him. I actually think, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I think Van de Beek was a player, and this is what I'm trying to say at the main point. I think because our recruitment is so bad for one reason or another, whether we're just idiots and we don't know what we're doing in terms of recruitment, or we're making recruitment decisions based off of for commercial reasons, not footballing reasons. I think, like for example, for me, Van de Beek, I just don't think that that's a player that probably belonged in the Premier League. He might have been a very good player somewhere else. He might have had to go somewhere else to continue to develop. I just don't. I don't know. You're telling me Ten Hag came here and he didn't want to use Van de Beek either, and he didn't even look at him twice. And he let him go. Which kind of tells me that even Ten Hag came to the Premier League, looked at the Premier League, and was like, Van de Beek ain't the profile of player that we need, not for this team, and it ain't gonna fit this league, and he probably should have never came here. But that's yeah, he was already destroyed. Sure, I mean, I guess. Um, but again, I feel like many of the play. See, the thing is, like many of the problems that we have is everybody says we buy players, they come to United, they get worse. We are cursed. We have an issue. And I just think it's a thing of optics. I just think we're so bad at recruitment that we literally buy the wrong or the worst players possible that you could buy for our team or for the Premier League, and therefore they're like destined to fail from the beginning. And then considering that we spend a shit ton of money on them and we make the most news, and then they're gonna fail, it just seems like there's like a curse at Manchester United. When I don't think it's actually necessarily a curse. I just think it's a form of optics. I think if we stop doing stupid signings for stupid money, and we actually properly evaluate players and get players that complement each other and the system and the league, the style of football for the league and stuff like that, I think that will go away, because I don't actually think that it's, I don't think it's like a player walks through the, into Carrington and all of a sudden they're like, some evil spell or something turns them like toxic and shit. I don't think it's that. Now we've had issues in the past, sure, but I think most of it is like, why the fuck did we sign Di Maria? He didn't want to come. He told us he didn't want to come. He still came, but we still signed him, and he wasn't interested at all. Why did we sign him? Because we're idiots. Why did we sign Alexis Sanchez? He didn't want to come, but we gave him 350,000 a week. Why did we sign him? Why did we sign these players? Why did we do things like that? They're destined to fail. They don't want to be there, or they're not the correct profile of player. So, I think Alexis Sanchez was different. I don't think he wanted to join us. No, but this is what I'm saying. Like, but it goes both ways, right? So there's players that didn't like us. They didn't want to join us. There's other players that just don't fit one way or another. Whether they're not strong enough, they don't have a good attitude, they don't have a strong enough mentality, they don't have good enough ability. It's always something, one way or the other, right? Like we signed Maguire. Now again, I will be fair. Like Maguire last season and for this season when he's been available, he's been good. Since he's lost the captaincy armband, he's actually been of decency. But signing Maguire for 80 million, taking him, putting him in a back four when he's super fucking slow, and less and they were playing a back five, and he plays a back five for England, and he clearly excels in a back five. To do that, to identify that and be like, let's get Harry Maguire. He's gonna be fucking better than Van Dijk, and we're gonna pay 80 million for him. But he's slow as shit, and we're putting him in a four back. And if we push the four back up, we're gonna be fucking exposed. But we do things like that anyway, and this is what I'm saying. Di Maria started off quite well for someone that didn't want to be there. I guess so, yeah. But I mean, it only lasted so long. Oh, and taking Cavani's number off him for Ronaldo, that still fucks me. Well, I'm gonna be quite honest. I was one of those people that advocated for him to take the number. I'm sorry. To me, at the end of the day, it's Ronaldo and it's CR7. And it would be fucking weird if we had Ronaldo come back to United and he didn't have 7. And it was the last proper heir of the number 7, so I felt like Cavani had to give it up. I would have made him give it up. I would have gave it up. And if I had the shirt and I was the number 7, I'd be like, I can't. Got to take this, So yeah, I mean that was always 2 plus 2 plus. The club are always gonna force it, because you're not gonna sell kits. I mean, the brand is CR7. He's got to have 7. It's part of the brand. The club was never going to let Cavani keep it. Not even if Cavani tried to fight Ronaldo, they would let him keep it. They would have kicked Cavani out immediately, just for that sake. But Jemba also started really well. He was outed to be Keane's replacement. I mean, but this shit happens. Grace has left us. Good night, Grace. Yeah, I'm gonna get off too. Very good discussion. Very long discussion. 4-hour stream. Might be our longest stream ever. We'll blame Almo because he kept the conversation going. No, I'm not gonna. I'm just joking. Listen, we'll be back live Sunday after the match. We'll do a Red Devil recap. I enjoyed the last. I wish you were in here the first hour and a half, Almo, and not the last hour and a half or 2 hours, whatever. It would have made the first half interesting. We wouldn't have to make it so long because now YouTube's gonna penalize me for making a 4-hour fucking stream. But it's all right. It was a good discussion. We'll be back live after the match on Sunday. We'll do a Red Devil recap. We'll discuss the match. Hopefully, it'll be a positive one, and we'll get a W and 3 points, and that way Axe doesn't have to, go batshit crazy, and he could celebrate a little bit. But thank you guys. And if you didn't smash the like button, hit the like button for us. Thank you. And if you want, get in the comments after I end the video. Leave whatever comments you want. That helps us out in the algorithm as well. And hopefully, yes, Almo. Hopefully, we beat Man City. You take care of yourself as well. What about me and Lyle, Eric? We weren't interesting enough for. Well, of course you guys are, but you guys are always here, and you guys always carry the show, and it's good to get some fresh opinion, sometimes. And I'm gonna be fair. Almo asks some very good questions. He keeps the conversation going very, very nicely. Before I can even answer one, he's already asked me another question. So. Which is good because it keeps it rolling. But you guys are always here. But like it's good to get a little bit of a fresh perspective. Of course, I love all my chat members. They're all very good. They're all very important, one way or another. One, Almo was spot on. Yeah, I mean he started off hot and heavy, but he came in and he did a nice landing and worked out well. It worked out well. 29 though. Nice 20, 23, 23. He said. But yeah. We'll get out of here. I'll see you guys. Hopefully, you guys will be around after the match. Should be an interesting one. Everybody take care. Shout out to all of you. Lions, Lyle, Almo, Grace, Axe. And if I missed anybody, I don't think I did. But yeah, shout out to all of you. Big up yourself. Big up Stephanie. She just joined right at the end. Steph's always coming right at the end, right when I'm ending the show. But at least you showed up. 10 likes. Yes, 10 likes. Thank you. Steph, we're gonna go. Steph, you'll probably go to the pub, so you won't be there. But we might do a double on Sunday. We might do a double show. So we're gonna do a Red Devil recap. I don't know. You probably won't make it for that because usually go out to the pubs and stuff for the matches, no? So I assume you won't be there for that. But maybe you'll catch the other one after. If we do it. We got to see how it goes. But at least thank you for stopping by. It was good to see you, Steph. You missed a wonderful conversation. If you want to get in the comments right after I end this, you can leave us a comment, Steph. We'll have a little discussion in the comments as well. Be good. Hopefully we win. Hopefully we win. If you want to leave some score predictions as well under the in the comment section under the after I end the stream, we could do that as well. So Lion says hi, Steph. Bye, Steph. Bye. All right. We'll see you after the match. Hopefully we win. United. I'm saying United 2-1 win. And we're out of here. We'll catch you on the flip side.